Need someone in the.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. You don't have.
What's the justification?
What did we do?
And that's on like.
Can they do
This is. Why we came to the conclusion. There was a.
And we'll see what trend develops.
We'll see. What we got.
He wants my, and I'm not talking about anything. We should be able to. He wants us.
I have a feeling that
Right in, that's fine. No, I'm.
No.
He's a soul.
Right, last night was very obvious. And I was. So we've been meeting.
Confirm his
But
he wanted to make
Living in
trees on our street.
Oh, no.
That's a living in.
And it's like in the jungle or with it.
He does it every time they come around.
We're all that's me on Sunday after this.
That will do
All right, folks, 6:07, you ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, we have myself, Kathy here, John's here, Will is here, Matt is here. We have Mark on Zoom. I spoke with Johanna. She is going to be either missing this one or running extremely late. I know she's trying to get done with what she's doing and get here as soon as possible. Okay, first on the docket, we have approval of prior minutes. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at those? Any questions? I'll make a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Officer reports. I have one. Well, if you want to go first.
No, well,
Okay, I have one officer report here. JR and I were working today. I have a problem. It's gonna be a reserve expense, I'm sure. I'm getting quotes on it. I'm at the pool trying to get the access control pulled. We cannot get it pulled through the existing 3¼ conduit. Can't even get it to budge the old stuff out. So something needs to be done there to get those lines through. It's either gonna be a new run tracing around the pool. It's about 390 feet. I'm not exactly sure what's gonna be underground burial cable. Point is, I have 3 different companies. I have one scheduled for Monday to come out and take a look at it, come up with some suggestions and ideas. I have another one Tuesday, and I'm working on a third for hopefully sometime next week.
too many bends,
But
too many bends in the wrong.
yeah, it's either too many bends or either which way, 3/4 inch and 6 cat 6 is not gonna work tight to begin with. So a little hose there. I don't know what it's gonna cost, but I'll get those quoted, and we will probably have a special meeting because I'm trying to push this through quicker than later, so we can get this up and running sometime November, December.
Well, do you have a rough estimate? Do we want to put a not to exceed budget? So
I don't
we can
even
approve it
know,
here?
I don't even know rough, but I really, depending on the option, depending if they, they may come and say, hey, let's do direct burial, we'll get another sidewalk here and here, which would be cheaper, but the more expensive route is we're never gonna have problems with the lawyers if they bury a 1-inch conduit and we actually just do straight runs like Cat said. That's probably the more expensive route to go, but
Are you opposed to using sweat equity?
on not at all. On my hands, yeah, because
I'm
just because
not-
my plate's really full.
I know, but I could probably help you there because after my report, we'll talk about the sweat equity.
Just so you know, the problem is doing a 1-inch run, trenching the 390 feet around the pool and going on 2 sidewalks. That being said, you're right, if we have the machinery and the people, yeah, we can knock it out in a day's time. No, I'm not.
Yeah, as long as we can identify what the sprinkler lines are and not hit those.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no to it.
In the gas lines.
All right, that's it to me. Well, the gas lines will have marked, but the sprinklers never get marked because the guys who put them in don't know where they put them in after they put them in. Here.
That's all I have on that. It's a little unfortunate. I gave JR, I gave it, it's my third time, best efforts this morning.
That's great.
Move on from that. Okay, we're still on officers report.
Wait, I'm getting ready to do mine. Is that cool?
No,
Passing it around.
I'm passing my report around.
That's good.
Not fast.
Just one page, just one page.
You didn't have to read all.
It's a fast moving.
Yeah, I want to make sure they're all the same. I don't want to pass something that was full.
Did you send one
I'm
to?
gonna have a timer spent buzz and it's gonna slow it in a second.
Exactly, we
Pass
got-
one.
Did you, everybody sign in? We got a 3-minute time limit on everybody signing in.
Oh, I signed in, so I only get 3 minutes this
Yeah, we
time.
got 3 minutes.
And
That's the sign in, please.
on the sign it, and then supposed to.
Okay, so briefly, I just gave you the balances of the accounts, which you can see pretty plainly. Now we can see them on a daily basis. I can open them up and see them every time. Before we had to get them from associates. That's great. Great news from that point. This little matrices I put on is a projected problem that I wanted you to see. And this is what all this discussion is about today. We've talked about the numbers as they come up, and I'm going to give you a better illustration. I've got five factors here I want you to think about, but more importantly, we finally got some financial reports out of Associate. It showed a $42,000 overage in our budget for the end of August. Through the end of August, according to theirs, we didn't have much we did in August because most of it was done on the news system. So what I've done with this is to give you an idea what projections would be from that point to the end of the year if we stayed lean. And then there's some factors towards the bottom that'll be, this is what's going to affect it. So let's just go over the numbers here. Between now and the end of the year, we have $55,648 due in payroll. Okay, so that's what's going to be spent there. We have reserve transfers. They did not do reserve transfers for July and forward. So our reserve for the master is pretty slim. So it's only $6,671 to make the reserve for the end of the year. Assessment transfers. When we asked them to make those new accounts for all the service areas way back in November, and they finally did it in June. At that point, they did it for the numbers I gave them. It was the end of Q1. Those numbers stayed constant until we started these new accounts in August. So the numbers have been going up because we've been putting deposits directly there. But the gap between Q1 and August 15th was going into the master. All that money belongs to the service areas. That amount equates to $132,104.32. The burn rate is a rough. I calculated what we've gone through up to this point this year. We're spending $57,000 and change per month for the master, including payroll, which is roughly $19,000 a month in payroll, minus $6,000 in fees for doing payroll that we were being charged by associates. So that's another $6,000 out of this. It comes up to be about $32,000 a month that we're burning. So I rounded it down just a teeny bit, knowing that we are saving some extra money, but we're also incurring some expenses, some trees down, et cetera, that have to be put into this number. So that's what we're going to spend roughly $30,000 a month to the end of the year. That's really lean, and it's probably a little bit too lean, but I'm trying to be conservative here just for this argument. Accounts payable right now, we have $1,972 in accounts payable. Everything's paid to date. I called every single vendor and made sure that there's nothing outstanding today just to be safe, because there were things that I found that weren't paid since May from Associate. Okay, so everything is up to date. We're squeaky clean there, thank God, with the exception of the fact that the outstanding money belongs to Sunrise. It's being sat on because there are some things that are in question that we'll go over with Sunrise, but my understanding, Tom, you correct me, okay? Our contract states that anything under $300 is a automatic go. They do it, they bill us. We have quite a few things that are over $300 that I don't have any record, any place in minutes or otherwise that we approved. I paid everything that I could verify was approved, with the exception of one bill, and that's the cleanup on the fence line in Westlake, because we just walked it, and we're going to approve that before I cut a check, right? Okay, so that's where that's at. That doesn't affect our AP, because basically it's on Westlake's. So that total expenses by the end of the year is 286, 396, 39. Ideally, if we collect 100% for the quarter, we've taken $168,091. That's 100% payment. Okay, we know that not to be true. Of that 168, 23,369.44 we already collected in prepaids. It's already in our bank account, so that comes out. We have delinquencies at 9/30 at $15,860. That will probably go up as of the 15th a little bit, but it's pretty consistent. About 6% we're running on delinquencies for the master. So that means a net projected income of $128,000. Okay, cash on hand at the time I did this report was $86,355. The balance comes to a negative $71,000 and change. Now, this is what we've been talking about since March, really. That this is due to, in part, and let's go down to the Friedman issue down here. Due in part that we have identified $56,000 in misposting in Friedman posting for the general ledger. That $56,000 is a gross majority of the 71. Think about that. The other balance comes in where the $15,000 is in delinquencies. Mind you, we did have an $8,000, it was actually $12,000 contingency. Okay, tree down. Okay, suck that up in a heartbeat. All start to make sense. So this is the best way I could illustrate this without giving you a long balance sheet to go through all the lines to show you what's really going on. And I hope it helps, but the reality is we've got to figure out a way to deal with the $71,000. We can talk about that. I am actually asking at this point to have an executive session about it because there's legal involved with Friedman that I'd like to talk about that we shouldn't have George present. That makes sense. Sure. So if someone would like to push that, I make a motion to do that. I'd love to do that at a very quick time.
How soon is next week good? Because we have other matters that we can talk about. At the same time.
Absolutely fine with me. I just go. Let's go.
I'll get it out.
Okay.
I will have a real budget for you next meeting. I will have real balances next meeting with the exception of the Friedman errors. Okay. We've been working around the clock. Remember, we got our financials about the 11th of September. We've been jamming through this, making sure this is as consistent as possible. It will be as close as I can get it without actually rebuilding all of it from scratch. And we're excited about that. But the reality is it's taking a heck of a lot of work for the three people that have been helping me, as well as Solvency Now has been doing some of the data entry on the system to make sure we're square. They gave me a quote to rebuild all the data of 40 to 80 hours at $125 a crack. We just don't have the money for them to do that. So I think we can do it ourselves, so we get a better retroactive or hindsight for coming forward as time goes on. But we have to get the budget out. We have to move forward.
I have a question for everyone on this topic. Our duly scheduled next board meeting would be the 27th. That's like 2 weeks from now. Do we want to? The truth is that board meeting is going to be either light. Do we want to turn that into a budget workshop, and will the finance committee be ready by then?
Sure, I can make it
Anyone
happen.
have an opposed to doing that?
I haven't had a meeting with the finance committee on the budget because I was waiting for this to come in, but now I'm ready for them. And so I'll probably ask for one shortly. And once we go through that, and I've got my projections in front of them, they can give me the feedback and I think we'll be ready to talk about things. I've got some suggestions to keep us, like, for example, we don't really have a contingency for fallen trees. We're actually going to spend somewhere in the area of about 50K in trees this year. I mean, that's a lot. That's got to be built in.
Okay.
So that's 3 weeks. You'll have 3 weeks.
That
Is
was my
good?
intention, was to have it for that meeting anyway, so it's not pushing me out.
Okay.
I really wanted it for this meeting, but it was all about associate giving us what we needed, so.
Okay, and I'll reschedule the 27th of the budget workshop. It's still kind of important, just because we're all present. There'll be no voting, no mention. Single topic.
Single topic, and I don't know where the blood comes from. I'm sorry, that was a negative statement. Find out how we can fix things.
There you go.
I'll find a bank.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, Sean, is there more?
No, there isn't. I mean, basically, this kind of paints the picture at the moment.
But you were talking about needing a meeting that included George.
Yeah, that was mostly to talk about what we should talk about for repercussion on this particular problem. This is aggravated by the pass-throughs being way over the top from what we expected it to be. Blowing the 5,000 budget by nearly 100% overage. That's sucked up everything else we had. So those two entities have caused problems. We couldn't have run faster away from associate, actually, we couldn't have.
Yeah, I'm gonna see when George is available. I'm gonna try to book that for probably a 6 PM sometime next week. Let
Okay.
me know what day. It might be advisable if we can to also discuss our associate issues with George while we have him there at the meeting.
Well, that's kind of the real reason.
I think
Yeah.
it's kind of, yeah.
I know this is kind of two the same, but I go, pointless to just hit him up with Freeman. We might as well start the associate process that we know we're gonna be doing that.
Okay,
All
all right. I'm sorry that was a more positive report, but I'm glad it was lighting.
I thought it was worse. I thought the numbers were gonna be well over 100,000.
It could be,
Let's stick with this.
stick with this for now. Like I said, this is conservative.
And Nick is 71 is better than now you're.
All right, so you'll set up the meeting
I'll
with
talk to
George
George tomorrow.
and let us know. Okay, thank you.
For me, it's earlier in the week is better.
I'm sorry.
Earlier in the week is better for me. I have to get out of town on
Okay.
Thursday.
I will schedule my departure in between everything.
Yeah, you're going out of town. When are you gonna be out of town? Next week, too?
I haven't scheduled it. I'll just buy a plane ticket when I'm not doing something for the association. That's what I've been doing lately.
You're such a good.
So,
Okay, community managers report.
Okay, you guys have the board report in front of you? That I sent? Working on. I've updated a little bit too, for a few more things.
No, I just got this
I
right.
sent it out. Well,
Oh,
I
you
read it.
didn't- I didn't-
It's
Did you
up.
send it out?
which one was the report?
Where did,
I did it, I uploaded it.
Which one?
I didn't get it.
Your report?
I didn't get it.
Are you serious? Do you need me to make copies? Let me just make copies of that.
We need to do attachments on one thing.
Well, I didn't even get an email from you, so.
Did I not send it?
She sent the agent.
And I think she sent them.
She did. She did a screen capture of something strange. You see that?
No, that was today.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't get anything from you today.
So I got an
you got
email from you that said, with regards to what we
I got
discussed
the
the last
certified.
time.
Yeah.
And I got
And I
the
didn't get
revised
it
cleanup
back.
just before we got here.
Right, no, it would have been last week. Did I send it to you?
Yesterday you sent the hardship deferment.
Right, I got that.
Yeah, I got that one.
Got that.
So you got an email from me, now, yeah, now I'm not feeling.
I think you meant to
Not
send.
today.
Sunrise, yeah. Oh, it's
Sorry.
complete.
It's okay, but just so everyone knows, we are gonna get this down to a science at the Friday before the meeting.
Yes, and everybody will
This is
have
all
it.
coming out in one email.
Yeah.
Agenda, managers report, and fire.
That would be nice.
Working on that.
Right, um,
Close.
About time, I'd say.
Snap.
So now you only have two.
He did.
Oh,
And he
yeah,
asked
you
me
know
to
what?
answer that,
There is a problem with her attachments.
I'm aware she did a screen capture of attachments when she drove the screen instead of the actual document.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Really? Huh?
It's, Tom and I'll give her an attachment one of them.
Maybe we can look at it and send out.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so we're gonna start it again. I thought it was already out. I apologize.
Using our new equipment.
So the
okay, remember you have to
speak up.
out
Is
so
that
the
better?
people on the,
It's only Mark and he never hears me anyway.
Well, no. people
there,
sitting over here.
and the people in the back can hear you too.
Like,
Yeah, but
so the management report starts out with the CDD from last month. So I met with them last month. I met with them again today. Thank you. Okay. If I stand up, I usually do better. I just start walking around. So I met with them today. So one of the biggest concerns that I had was the Colony Glen proposal that they were gonna check into. They actually did approve $2,200 to go in and clean up over there and could be additional since the storm, because they looked at it before the storm. So they said if there's any additional work that needs to be done to let Debbie know. So that's been approved, which made me
Right.
happy.
But let me be clear, that is just to clean up in the area.
Yes.
It is not to cut the trees back from people's houses.
No, any of the deadwood, so it's just
Right,
the
it's
deadwood.
just gonna be trimming in the area, but the trees that are encroaching on the houses, they're going by the law that says, as long as it's a healthy tree, you have to cut to your, so if they're expecting them to come and cut the trees back, I don't wanna give false expectations on
Right.
that.
The homeowner.
So, The
The-
homeowners,
the
yes.
homeowners.
Right.
So
Yes.
they're going with the airspace rule,
Right.
which, I mean, I'm hoping enough of it will be deadwood that's over the houses. Some of it will, not all of it though. So it's gonna be something we're gonna have to put in the budget, Sean, for them next year.
Yes, absolutely.
trimming,
There's,
okay.
there's some things we have to go when we.
Yeah.
look down,
As we didn't have
we talked
before.
earlier about some of the tree stuff too.
And let me see, the Sagewood paired villas, Tom and I have been through the paired villas and Sagewood many times. The sod is actually being laid tomorrow in Sagewood. And
I thought that was gonna be done today.
then it got bumped till tomorrow. Another email went out.
Contractor notified me about 7:30 this morning.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do about it, I emailed her as soon as I found it.
Yep, and then an email. I've been using Appfolio to let them all know
Okay.
anything that changes and comes up, which is, they're paying attention, which is good.
Don't want to just watching this.
Hmm?
Just watching this.
Okay. He's got my number, we're good. And now as far as the paired bill is, that's something Tom will talk about in a little while. Right, those numbers, that's gonna take a little bit longer. It's a lot bigger of a number than Sunrise originally thought. So that's a plan, that's a working plan.
So.
Yep.
Not to interrupt, but
Yep,
I
you're
am,
fine.
sorry. Your paragraph here about the CDD asking, our association to, with the cleaning maintenance for the dog stations.
Mhm.
What's that about?
They want to know if we can share our maintenance with them to pick up the dog stations throughout the community.
Mac was originally,
Doing that.
I know you got busy, but we had talked about
Yeah.
these.
And I talked with James briefly today, but I still have, and I told him today, in theory, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but we have to work
Yeah.
on what's the impact, how much time,
What are the hours? What's
what's right, and, we talked about, maybe if something more efficient is having a trailer, then he goes and does it one time during the day, the trailer loads everything up, saves time going back and forth, and that would be an expense, we would say, if you want this done, that would we'd have to do. I told them we're still working it, they're like, fine, I said, we have made no commitments whatsoever.
Right.
We have to look at the impact. If it's a matter of having more than one, we do one dumpster a week and we end up having three, then the other two goes on a bill. And they're willing to share the expense of whatever that is. And because they're paying for it now anyhow.
Mhm.
So we're working on it, but I told them I gotta follow up with everybody and we got an idea, but I wanna put it together further.
I would like to point out that whatever we do on the dog stations, Encore specifically pulled all theirs out. So CDD is not doing anything around dog stations in our facility. So that may, as far as allocating costs out, we also pay for part of the cost that'll be included in the cost is going to be included in, so. I have no opinion on it. I just wanted to make sure you knew that, we don't have any dog stations in our facility.
Here's a question. Does TDD have property in it?
That's what it was, I got, yeah.
Specifically, the property is, you can see it from waterfront right here, where all where the tree fell over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a CDD property, but, behind the fence right there where the well is and everything,
Mhm.
CDD.
Okay.
So we have a couple
It's behind the house,
spots.
yeah. I didn't realize that.
Thank you.
The pool maintenance, as shown from the pool company, we did have violations before Labor Day. And he's been working on probably 4 or 5 of them. JR, do you know any of the updates on them? On the pool?
Do you have an update for any of the pool violations?
Everything's pretty much taken care of with the exception of the sign situation.
I saw that. I'll backpedal the sign problem. We have, so one of the violations are our signs are down, they wanted more, right? We had one that just broke in half, is down now, so I think we're down to none, or maybe the one on the main still.
There's
main
one
gate?
on the wall, one on
I'd have to look.
Only the signage,
Uh,
you only have the one sign that's on the pool.
On the pool house visit.
So we're talking about the
But
unintended.
it doesn't have the specific wording
Verbiage,
that they
yeah.
want.
Right.
And that's what I would assume.
Because there's some unique code that tells you exactly what they want to say and it needs to say that.
And the reason I'll backpedal the signs later on in this is because if we end up changing around our amenity hours, our signs need to be changed. to the other amenities anyway, so we might just throw it all in, get it all changed properly, worded how we want.
Okay, budget for signs.
And the only other one
Right,
is
that's-
obviously the front gate. That's-
Yeah,
Working on, because it doesn't lack.
the other issue are the gates, which we're working on, they don't automatically latch, the front gate does not automatically latch, it's not designed to. As soon as we get our problem fixed and access control up and running, it will do that just fine. So that's just a timing issue. You remember what the third one was?
The others were relative to like, the hook not being on the wall and.
Did they want a
So they
second,
were very minor.
did they want a second hook or a life saver or something?
Yeah, it didn't have a rope.
Oh,
It
it
wasn't,
didn't.
it was hanging, all that's been untangled, the life preservers are all in place, all hooks are in place and that.
So they're just not in the right places.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think, I didn't go to put it back on the rack while she was there.
Well, it sounded like this person was being a little bit over picky, but that's okay.
So, okay, moving on to, everybody knows the playground equipment was completed as well as the stairs leading down to the lake.
Did
Took
you
a
send an
little-
announcement? 'Cause I had a couple of glass and they had been repaired and we sent an announcement for that.
I think we did, didn't we post it on Facebook?
I'm not sure now to remember if we did or not.
I thought there was a Facebook post
Okay,
Yeah,
with photos of the repair and
The
actually,
before and after, and, yeah,
great. Because I just, when someone came in here, I was just asking, hey, when they were walking on, did they get that repair? I'm like, yeah, it's done.
actually, I could mark them up, I remember them being posted.
yeah.
Well, Mark's online, isn't he?
Mark, you there?
may not be able to talk right this
Yeah.
minute. It's
He
on
might be
mute.
muted.
It's
Yeah.
all listening, so it's fine.
And okay, right, that's a budget item for next year. I'll just give you a list of my budget items. John. Because there's a little
Please.
bit of cleanup that I need throughout,
Yeah, but we're talking about.
the tree stumps and then the playground around here.
There's
And-
something that got brought up today, we called an arborist this morning that came out right away, which is the first guy that's responded about the trees. And, she was in the CDD meeting, so I walked with them. But this particular gentleman has he says 52 years experience and is a very nice, elderly gentleman that basically gave us a lot of information very quickly.
Mhm.
And gave us a company to do a tree assessment evaluation for both dead where they could fall and hurt somebody, as well as what to do to make the trees survive longer. And he recommended us doing that. I called the company right afterwards and they, very inexpensive, $200 when we come out and write up. It's kind of what we'll call like a reserve study of the trees, if you want to call it that, that I think might be helpful to us to assess what we're going to do with a budget on the tree cutting. Because these trees in here are really in bad shape if you look at them. They really are. They're gonna take care of, we'll get that quote tomorrow, but he picked out a whole bunch of things and he was telling me they get all inclusive. Looks like it's gonna be relatively inexpensive for us to get this done in the tree stumps. So that's exciting. But when we were walking it, this is what she's referring to. When this property was built here, the plants and so forth were kind of cleaned up and now we've let the vines kind of take over and I think the comment Tom said was that, you know, we want to look natural, not Jurassic Parkish. So the whole point was that she wants to build into a budget that we can clean some of that up and I'm kind of agreeing with that. So we'll figure that part of it out.
Yeah.
Should probably get quotes quickly if we can.
And
I can give you the name of the company that does our trees too, if you want.
Absolutely.
that would be
It's,
great.
Arborist as well.
Yeah, the more the merrier on this kind of stuff. It's great.
And Jennifer's been working on getting the 3 janitorial companies. We did receive the third. It's the original one with a new contract.
So the original is a new contract and 2 new.
Mhm.
Right. How's the job market for this looking? Are you having trouble finding people? Or
The ones
companies?
that Mr. Deere gave me, I called all of the ones that you had given me and only one contacted me back. So,
Jan King?
Janpro.
Pro,
Mhm.
we just signed a contract with them today.
Okay, So the other two did not call me back.
So we do have something from Jan Pro.
Mhm.
Actually, I know that company and they're actually pretty well known as a good company to work with. So
And the price is not nearly as much as you would expect for a professional company, like
Right,
compared to what we have now.
right.
So we can probably review these in November.
Yeah, I want to put a spreadsheet together, make sure the apples to
I
apples.
should say this one.
It's only gonna cost a little bit.
$71,000.
Look at that.
I may be overestimating that slightly.
It's all.
71
Right.
But we use it.
Yes, so we're making progress. And at polio, I mean, like I said, I've been using the announcements to keep in touch with Sagewood and Paired Villas, what's going on. And we're on to the next page, inspections. I'm ready to do the inspections. I'm itching to do the inspections, and then the hurricane came, so. But it's not gonna stop me, even the Halloween decorations are not gonna stop me. So you might get a violation because you got a Halloween decoration.
I finally, all time with decorations.
And the finding committee, we do have a full bunch of people ready to go.
Great.
And so I'm excited about that. I've been speaking to Will about it, so we're just gonna confirm the date, and I think we're acting more on this tonight. Okay, so the roof issues over in Paired Villas. 5742 circa was the one that had the leak. So everything was fine with that? No, I'm sorry.
Being inspected and found it was,
There was the one that it's totally fine. So that's 5742 circa.
yeah,
So I did use the enterprise because he knows the location. He went up in the attic. Everything's fine. There's no damage to the property. There was a leak, but it was from the hurricane and the pounding waters and
blowing in someplace.
Yeah.
yes, for hours. And that's what they said. It was for hours.
Okay.
So
Shouldn't we look at closing that where we're blowing into?
it was just the constant pressure on it. And the only way for him to actually prove that that's what caused it is to use a power washer and tons of water and wind and constantly put it on.
I looked into this a little bit because I have a small issue in my dining room. It's called flexing. When the hurricane winds are continuously pounding water in a certain spot against the window, they tend to flex a bit and you'll get these small leaks only during the storm. And of course, it takes a cat.
So Tom, when you don't want it to leak, it's the only time. it will leak.
That's pretty
A
much.
very,
exactly
a
what
very,
he said.
I have it in my living dining room, it's a very small amount.
That's what shutters are
I
for.
do have it.
So is that one of the things that they added to the building code, the flex roof stuff? Because we were told our roofs were up to code after Andrew.
That's if it's coming into the roof. Like I say, like mine comes in through the flexing of the window, so anywhere you have an opening, the window sill. can
There's
flex.
also another place where I do know what Connie's saying, all of our soffits are vented to keep the heat coming through and it blows in through the soffit and drips down.
It drips down.
So that's one of the things, if we get horizontal rain, that's a pretty common place for it to come in.
Right.
So-
I had to come in at a gas.
It does come back. So it helps take care of the bad side.
No, it just speeds them.
Okay, I'm sorry. Deb,
And
go ahead.
then, that's okay. So, 5720 was the original leak problem that we had. The gentleman, the work is being completed tomorrow. 100%. And the gentleman is now asking for the homeowners association to install gutters on his house.
I saw that, so he's talking about a repair that he saw done to a neighboring house that they according to his email, I haven't seen this yet.
Neither.
According to his email, they added another downspout, which corrected the water flow issues he thinks caused the problem in the first place. So he wants the same repair, only the quotes and professionals have all said this isn't needed. We just need to fix the roof.
The roof is still pending the repair, though, right? Is this the same issue where they wouldn't allow access for a while? They didn't do it. Okay.
Yeah. So the repair is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's being completed.
Mhm.
You know, my 2 cents, I don't, is that homeowner here? Are they present by any chance? No?
I haven't
Zoom?
heard from
No?
him.
My advice would be, let's get it fixed, let's get it repaired. If the homeowner is still adamant and interested about that, please come to our November board meeting. Let's talk directly and see what he's talking about, get a little more information.
Okay.
If we have to get someone out or even the roofer there tomorrow, that we diagnose exactly that need or not need of, we'll do that.
Thank you. And I don't think he doesn't have gutters to begin with.
Oh, so that's a whole other issue.
I see.
Building code only requires to have it over the doorways and the houses when they build the house.
Yeah.
Right. So anything else?
Anything else is
The
on.
homeowners expense.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you start go to if we don't have a gutter?
I didn't know nothing, I just saw we were.
Well, I've seen that, and I tried to fix that already.
and
Sorry, didn't do a good job.
Thank you, Ed. Committee reports. I don't really have anything. I know Johannon's not here yet. So we had a social committee meeting a couple days ago.
I didn't know that.
It was posted.
Yeah, I got it.
I just didn't see it.
That's okay. Oh, so what we're doing in the social committee, since she's not here, I'll kind of speak on her behalf a little bit. We know we don't have money. We have no more food trucks going on until January, so there's no spending on that till then. We're attempting to do the next 1 to maybe 2 events at a no cost to the HOA. HOA will have to front the money to get the things done, but we're gonna do Santa Claus probably with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, just like we did last year. The expenses could be paid up front through the HOA. We were talking about $10 a ticket. We know we'll sell through and sell out, so we'll be able to recoup that cost for that event. We're also talking about casino night. We haven't figured out the vendor or pricing yet on that, but again, a high ticket price, we anticipate being able to recoup an entire cost. For you guys.
Selling
Sounds
tickets.
great.
So, working with Mark and his community with their fireworks, maybe we could do something around that. Because they're looking for funding on that.
I agree, the fireworks is the problem. Like,
The fireworks is wrong.
Yeah.
The licensing, the insurance on it,
Yeah,
it's just
Sorry.
not there.
don't fully agree with you on that.
Yeah.
That's a risk. we should not
We've
take.
looked at it quite a bit, and there seems to be, I know Mark would love to speak more on it, but there seems to be a not understanding of what type of license is actually needed, or if there's one. There's a lot of debate going around that, oh, you don't need it because it's sanctioned on the 4th or on New Year, and another one saying, yes, you definitely do need it. I'm not sure if the HOA really, at this particular point in time, I don't think we have enough information, knowledge. We do know the insurance liability cost on it, it's quite expensive. So yes, it'd be great, I'd love to do it. I don't know if we can. I do know it's way too soon for us to be able to tackle it by New Year at this point. Next year project.
I did do a little bit of homework on that when we talked about July, and on 4th of July and New Year's, you can pull a permit to do it without a license, but you still have to pay for the permit fee, which is about $500. And then, of course, the insurance for an event, insurance for fireworks is always high, as you know. So there's a way to do that. I'm not stating that we shouldn't, but we should, if we plan on doing something like that for July or whatever in the future, it's something we can build in the budget to do so. The reality is that, it's not as expensive as you might expect. I've done event insurance. I did event insurance, multiple times for 50,000 people events. The Lloyd's of London for $1,000. It's not huge.
Right, if I may just cut you off just for a moment there were 2 things. That permit that I agree with, it sounded like it was for city approved commercial events. So the city needs to approve it and its location. It sounded very difficult for us to actually get an approval through on that, but I agree with you, it's worth trying. The other problem was even Lords of London, Mark did get a quote, and it was outrageously expensive because I understand the events, but the insurance companies also understand when you're blowing rockets up in the air, it's much different than just having a large event.
Right.
So the insurance is still.
And there's
astronomically
The
high.
factor that we haven't even talked about is where are they going to be stored?
That's, yeah, well, see, Mark is actually amazing at that portion of it. He's been working on getting his license. He's been studying this for a very long time, pyrotechnics. They get stored in some sort of central, you have to have them. I don't know.
You're sticking them in a military vehicle, right?
Let's put it this way, they're not stored in his garage. I know that much.
Right.
The other guy stores all his in his garage.
That's
know.
true.
Holy smokes, man. If that
And
thing
then he
went
puts it on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, that one year it was full. You couldn't even get in the garage. It was so much. I'm thinking, man, if that thing went off.
As I said, I'd love to do a fireworks show. We have to dot our i's, cross our t's,
I'd rather do a concert.
I'd rather do a concert.
Well,
Yeah, there's
also
other things
think
that can do
that,
this for sure. I mean, even we talked about the carnival event that we brought up at one of the meetings I was at, which is pretty much no money out of pocket on it. Still requires you rent insurance and definitely that it's something like that on the rides along like a paramedic on site. But there's not a whole lot of expense in there, and way less problematic because those rides get set up and they get inspected by the county before you do anything. So it's basically some things you can think about, but there's still big looking events without having stuff that can burn your house down.
And even just, even more preventative, the paramedics are there, fire trucks are there, it does a great event. And it's worth looking into, no doubt, but I just don't think we have the time now to polish something up.
Or the budget, which is simply a portion fund.
it wasn't serious, I was just. If somebody said, oh yeah, we got all that put together, it was fine, I remember it. But Mark was having some trouble, I think, at some point with the financing. And the HOA in some respects, if we have an accident, even though we didn't put any money into it,
This will be getting on.
presumably there's gonna be a potential problem. Because we're the ones that could have the money supposedly. So,
Mark does his thing, though, it's off HOA property unfortunately, but it's still, if we know about it, we're still
right.
potentially liable.
There's always some liability,
Yeah.
there's always been liability regardless. I take that as that's just nature of the beast.
Yeah.
No here nor there. We allow people to walk around on the property. In character. Anyway, that's all I had
There
to
were signs on the sidewalk saying you trip, it's your liability.
sign here.
If only that were
5 foot.
Those are CDD signs.
See the CBD, not us.
Okay, so I don't think we have anything else to need to report, right?
Okay.
Wonderful, tabled items.
Does Jennifer want to talk about the ARC?
Oh, I'm
responses?
sorry, yes,
That's all right,
Jennifer,
yes.
please, we have some small issues she's gonna bring up that I'm hoping to resolve. Right now.
We have, like, today, we had the ARC meeting and the votes were coming in at odd times. So like some votes came in right around 8:30, then some came in at 9, then some came in at after 11. So I don't know if they're not voting all at the same time.
Is there anyone on from the ARC?
No.
Good one on that.
We're talking about the votes coming in that polio coming sporadically.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, continue, I was.
That's okay. So it just made, like, usually I'm have them by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and usually then I'm able to get letters out and information out to homeowners, but today, they were coming in sporadically, so that was a little. And then I also have one request that has been in there. For now, this is the second meeting, and they didn't finish voting on it on the first meeting because they wanted more information. So I got the more information for them, sent it back. The vote was there today, but the people that had not voted were not there at today's meeting either. So now it's still sitting there. So it has 2 agree and 2 denies. So now it's still at a cross. So now this.
And you've
gentleman-
emailed out and you've spoken to Daniel about this.
I sent an email to ask him to get this done. I spoke with one of the other members as well, and they said that it would be discussed at this meeting. And then those same members weren't there, so that
So-
had not voted.
You have some minor internal ARC issues when you deal with Mark, I hope you're listening in here. If not, I'll talk to you during the week. Hopefully Mark and Daniel and Tom Kipley can work out, but basically what we're trying to make sure that happens is that everything gets voted on at the 9:30.
8:30.
8:30 every other Thursday, right? I have a hard time joining those. I was able to join two sessions ago. I know Mark has trouble joining. If Mark can't join, Patty will be there for sure at the next one, to kind of see this through. Because there really isn't a reason that these all aren't getting voted on and closed out by nine.
And I don't know if it's just for some reason it didn't kick in or what the reason was.
We gotta track it down,
Yeah.
Mhm.
figure it out and work together. We'll do that.
We've also made it a little convenient to do it when it's convenient to them, not convenient to us.
Exactly.
That's
So
part of
if
the
you
problem.
know you're not gonna be at a meeting on that Thursday because you can't, something came up.
We'll do
we go early.
Yeah.
Now, we have 2 ARCs, one, the
One
one,
that's in just hanging.
the one, we're just gonna approve this one, folks. It's a solar panel install. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Legally, we can't even deny it. So it needs to go through. We can't wait for responses. Part of the responses was they only check this thing every 2 weeks. They're not paying attention to the ARC emails. Maybe that's something we need to talk about with the ARC.
Yeah.
But you said there were 2 denials.
2 denials on it and 2.
Two voting.
positive.
It's a split
Two.
vote.
It's a split vote right now,
It's a
and I
split-
still have 2 members that haven't voted.
And did they state why they denied them?
Because they were waiting on more information from the contractor. So
So,
instead of waiting, they just denied.
Okay,
so the state laws do allow us to make some limitations on solar, but they're minor.
They're minor and they're suggestive to where they can go.
Right, exactly. If we tell them to put the panels in a huge spot that reduces the quality of their solar by 10% or more, we can't
We
do
can't do
it.
that. No.
So that's kind of where
In
we're.
addition to, I've looked at this, Jennifer's looked at this, Patty's like, I don't see any cause of alarm. to
Right,
not
so
just
it's
assume.
normal install, right? So, yeah. Not putting panels in
It's
front
not
of it.
RDRC.
Okay, I'm good.
That we haven't seen
Okay, so,
I'll push that one through.
Are we,
um,
so
do
are
you
we gonna
want to
motion?
make a motion to vote on it?
I don't, because it's really operational. You can just push it, I'm just letting everyone know of the issue in that room.
Okay, now be in the minutes as we push it through.
Okay, we have old business. Hardship deferment policy.
Which is the one thing we did send us.
You're gonna rub it in all week, aren't you?
Yes, I pay him $5 to do that. Trying to pay down that $70,000.
So I did not look at the one you sent. But I have the one in here that I know is the one I want to talk about, so I'm hoping it's the same one.
It's the only one I have.
But okay, so the policy that I have here. Yeah,
Did you send, you have a typo?
that's okay. The policy I have here is Fishhawk Ranch West HOA Board has approved the administrative department policy. I'm sorry,
That's just
deferment. Deferment policy at the Board of Directors meeting August 20th, 2022, authorizing the CAM Community Association Manager to approve the homeowner's request a deferment of association dues up to 90 days prior, up to 90 days without any late fees, interest, or collection action for homeowners requesting for a short time at the discretion of the CAM.
That's a run-on sentence.
The CAM will only bring the homeowner request to the BOD for review if the owner needs additional time for payment as discussed for further action. Okay, I actually agree with that. That's pretty much what we talked about at the prior meeting.
All that seems fine.
And then as far as the actual hardship deferment agreement goes, I think that looks great too.
The only thing that I'd like to add to that, if I could, is that, we allow debtor to make payments within blank days, provided debtor pays the late fees on blank. This is making sure that we're going past that. But repayment period, the debtor shall repay the creditor on a monthly basis beginning on. So we're expecting to pay a monthly payment in addition to the current payment. Is that what we're asking? Because it doesn't specify. And then total be every month on the ending paid in full. Now, I think that needs to be worded a little differently, but I get the gist of it. The thing that I don't like is that if they're in default, at that point, we give them 5 days, if they're in default, 5 business days agreed upon the date, the time that debtor could be liable to pay reasonable attorney's fees. It also needs to probably include retroactive interest in those fees. Because
I agree.
if they're just.
It's not agreed upon, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, if they're playing us,
True.
that'll make them not play us, is what I'm trying to say, because we could hit them with 90 days with the late fees and interest, it's gonna be several $100s minimum. They might think.
Yeah, in other words, if they abrogate this agreement,
Mhm.
then it
Default is
goes, it's default retroactive to, absolutely.
As your mortgage company would do, or anybody else would do this case, like, hey, you mess with us now, pay the property. Because we're trying to do something to help people, not hurt everyone else. And
Right.
that's kind of what I was after. So that's the only thing I'm gonna say about it, but the rest of it seems fine.
Okay, I like that. We'll definitely get that in.
Yeah.
Do we want to approve the policy? And then we'll just correct the agreement?
Yeah, I think that's sound.
Yes.
So, as a for instance. I'm not able to, pay my fee, my membership fee for the next 2 months, and I know that in advance. So then, he would sign this agreement in advance or retroactively?
Well, you could do it in advance, I suppose. It would be a conversation with that, and she's gonna ask why you can't for the next 2 months.
Yeah, the permit can't be past facto. It has to be done in advance, otherwise it's not a deferment.
Yeah, it's a way,
Right.
and the other way would be ex post facto, would be waiving the fees because we have a hardship, which is something that we consider, I guess.
So what happens when it
Yeah.
starts up again? I got 2 months that I'm paying back,
Exactly.
and when I hit the first month, I now have 3 months that are due.
Well, okay, so, well, hold on, you have 2 months that you're paying back.
Well, that's why there's a
Under
payment
the
plan,
repayment plan.
the repayment plan.
And that's why we're gonna add that if you default on the agreed upon payment plan, all interest rate fees go right back in. the account.
Yeah,
You go
but
right
if
back.
you're defaulting on the loan,
Mhm.
you may not be keeping up with your current charge.
Well, that's
So
part of
maybe we
it. So you do
state
like
that
1.5.
At the expiration of this agreement, the current dues must be paid timely. Because we're not really stating that, it's kind of assumed,
Mhm.
right? I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I think it's
And-
implicit, you know, it cannot be more than 90 days unless the board gets involved.
Mhm.
So therefore, after 90 days, their agreement with being a homeowner is reinstated with a payment plan, correct?
I think it should be better to be explicit, not implicit.
Right.
I agree. with you. Yeah, so the explicit part of this is saying that, you know, that the payment plan is for the past due amount and regular payments for the current dues are also.
Must be paid in full,
Must be good.
As required.
as required.
Absolutely.
All
You
right,
put in full as required.
you got that, Betty?
Mhm.
So, when you get the chance, make those revisions, pass it around.
Yeah, now it's good.
And I'll send it out to everybody.
So shall I propose a motion to accept the policy pending edits that were discussed here? So we don't need to vote on it again.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you for that.
Cleaning services, we've already discussed, I had it
Yeah.
in here as old business, we're kind of hanging around, keeping up with it. Skip that. Okay, this was brought to my attention by a few people on Facebook. Matt brought it to my attention. I snuck it in here late yesterday. I apologize. Option to allow metal roofing as permitted roofing material. Matt?
Well, yes, as soon as the storm came through and I looked out and 6 houses within a block had blue roofs on top of them. And several homeowners have come to me separately, but I even turned to Marguerite before that, my wife, and said, we need to relook at the ARC discussion, because remember, when we were doing the ARC, I was in favor of adding metal roofs. For 2 reasons. One is, we're sitting in a building that has one. 2, there are houses in this neighborhood who have metal roofs.
Or partially.
Partial.
Right, but it doesn't matter, it still has a metal
Yeah,
roof,
no, I agree.
as far as I'm concerned. So it's already been set by precedent that they're there. And 3, you know, they're not cheap looking, they're high quality roofs. And they're one of the most secure roofs you can have. And in fact, several of the people who lost their roofs were really interested in it. And in fact, their adjuster made them look at a video the day before of a community down by Fort Myers that only has metal roofs. Now, I'm not saying this should be a mandatory policy, but I think if we allow some people to have metal roofs, the homeowners association has metal roofs, and we allow tile roofs, you can't upgrade without expensive cost from a shingle roof to a tile roof because the load structure on your roof is not sufficient.
Mhm.
But you can put a metal roof on there. So I just think we're giving a member options. There's no mandate that you must do this, but I can't see why we're negating it. And literally, I sit in my house and it's a block house. After Irma, I sat there and I said, the windows are one of our weak points. We bought shutters. We have hurricane shutters. This storm, the roof is the weak point. Now, all this discussion I just had occurred before I found out I have roof damage. I don't know if it's enough to make it a replacement, so I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for members of the community who've asked for it, and I just think it's the right thing to do. I mean, what's the downside to having it exist?
I
Mike?
think that, I would feel more comfortable. I don't know much about tin roofs or metal roofs. I see it a lot in rural society. So I drive through Mississippi, there are a lot of metal roofs down there. But I don't really know an advantage for it. So the question is whether we would be allowing people to do something that may be to their disadvantage because it's less expensive.
No, actually, it's more expensive.
It's
way
Because it'll last 75 to 100 years. So it actually increases the value of your house these days. Two things. One is, one of the people I spoke to knows a roofer, and the roofer would be happy to come and talk to us at a board meeting or at a special meeting if they want, if we needed to get more information. The person that suggested the video, I can find out where the video is the video is of Babcock Ranch, which is down just outside of Fort Myers. And they have their own solar panel. Every house has the metal roof. They didn't have a single roof failure in the community.
There was a news article about that exact community.
I didn't see that, but yes, I've already been down there way before this, just because I drive by it. I have a property piece down in Fort Myers, which has a metal roof on a small casita. So I just, again, I have no vested interest. I don't own any stock on metal roofing. I just think it gives people who have an asphalt roof, who want to upgrade for security purposes. I mean, not the left. Right, yeah, or even just, peace of mind when you go through the storm.
If I see this as a two-part question, I mean, the first question will drive the second one. All right, is anyone here opposed to allowing metal roof?
I would like to have more information.
Like that more.
Because there's multiple different kinds of metal roofs to put
Well,
on.
that's,
That's gonna be the issue is, one guy's gonna go with the cheaper version, because my old house in Lakeland, the guy took and put a metal roof on, and it's a very cheap looking
the
metal roof.
aluminum.
I mean, it almost looks like you put it on a barn, cause you saved money on it. So what would we do here? Would you have one guy that has a silver roof and the other guy has a roof that's a little bit different look wise? Are we gonna stay with that?
Mac and I were talking about this.
That's my only concern.
One of the ideas to negate that is, you gotta put it in the air.
Right.
This material,
But
just
we don't-
a bottle
we
this,
had
right.
the ability of specifying what type.
and your colors,
You can,
I mean, you got this and you got Home Depot quality,
right.
and your colors.
and it looks totally different. It's different, Gabe, everything's different on it.
We can
way
fix the
because it
quality.
seems-
The more information, we can do that too. The question here where I think it's driving from, is we have people with roof damage that needs roof replacement that are considering the metal roof today. So,
Correct.
do we
This
wanna,
is-
do we wanna expedite this for them, or just to know we can?
Why not? I do know if it's done correctly with the correct material,
It looks
it
good.
looks awesome.
It does.
Some of the crappy stuff, it.
Some of that
tends
stuff
to
is
look
just
bad and get green and all kinds of weird stuff.
Like
So,
a shed.
Like cheap asphalt singles.
Yeah,
The nice stuff looks nice, there's no doubt about it.
Right, we don't do the shake, you just do the original 3-tab.
So
Three
if
tabs
if
terrible.
we expedite it, do you have enough information to be able to say you must use this type of material, blah, blah,
I'm
blah?
hoping we can obtain that, because if we say we allow it today, my next step says, okay, let's say we say, yes, we want to explore metal roofs and put it in the air. Okay, then the next question is, what do we do for the people that want to sign on that get this done today because they have damaged their roof? We need to look at those as a one by one. It still needs to go to the ARC. It still needs to come to the board. We could fast track it by having a special board meeting. We'll get to see all their material choices. We'll get to see the Corning materials, whoever's the manufacturing provider. We could do a little due diligence while this goes over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, let's call it. And yes, we could develop those answers very quick.
Well,
Just price alone will drive most of those.
And
answers.
one of the homeowners volunteered to do that for us. They will, and that homeowner is not a roofer, but they have contacts into the roofing industry. And they have offered to say, I know I can ask this guy to come and do a presentation. So I can, at a minimum, I can have her set it up. I'll take it and get the information. I'll open it up to anybody. We can meet here,
Mhm.
and I'll be happy to do that.
May I make a suggestion then?
Yeah.
But why don't we table this one? Get the as soon as you can get that information and whomever is ready, and any homeowners that are interested in doing this now, get them in on the same meeting.
Hmm, yeah.
Whether that's next week or in 2 weeks,
Right,
this way
okay.
we can, I guess what they're looking for is a fast track, and what I'm saying is the board, let's accommodate.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, so let's
I-
accommodate the
just-
fast track and see where it goes, but we don't need to make a decision on it today.
No, what I'm really asking is just, should I make a motion that we move forward to look at it, do some research,
For
We don't need it.
consideration.
consideration of the final thing, but acknowledging that there are some people who are very interested. Therefore, that was my real question. How do we do that procedurally correctly and make sure we have the right information for the ARC to make those decisions?
Well,
Just like they would in any roof,
we
right?
could do, easily we could do an portfolio post, but a lot of these people are on Facebook. I saw the whole thread on the metal roofs. We could do a post there, let them know if it's something they're considering, get in contact with you. You'll get in contact with the person willing to do the presentation, and we'll set it up.
But, yeah, no,
And you also too is, are we just gonna go with one color? Or are you gonna
Yeah.
let people multiply their colors? Cause
Matt had a-
somebody can say, hey, I want a green roof, or I want a red roof, or I want a black roof, or I want a blue roof.
We have black, we have brown. It's gonna be
And
black and
Has
brown.
to be consistent
And
with.
it's probably gonna be no silver than
Cause I mean, it would just be boom, 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 with multiple colors all throughout the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And normally your neighborhoods, they only have one color roof, which is that. If you go down to some of the homes, they don't have multicolor roofs. They have the all same.
Just like our single options, they're that multi brownish tone and then the black and.
Otherwise, we can advertise with France.
Yeah.
On beach.
Yeah,
But.
yeah, I'm not hard up on colors.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Since silver already exists, I thought silver was a viable option, and then black and brown.
It works okay, just like the copper does an accent, but if you're gonna have that one house on a block that's copper or silver, you're gonna look.
It's gonna stay.
I have no, I'm somewhat agnostic in terms of color. I just, I just wanted
I'm
to.
just quickly reading a fast comparison on the two, and a big comparison, other than the fact that they last longer, is that they reflect the heat as opposed to absorb it and save a whole lot of energy.
Uh-huh. You could put a black roof on and
It's
it's.
talking
more
about
efficient.
25 to 50-degree temperature changes in granite alone.
Yeah, no,
That's,
So are you aware of, and other than the fact that they just won't get it done, that there's anyone that has an emergency that they have to do this quickly?
well, I think everybody who has a blue roof doesn't want to have a blue roof on their roof for a really long time. Some
The
people.
reality is, can they get roofers in next week to do it?
Oh, no, I don't think it's,
Like
I don't think it's,
put it away.
no, I don't think it's like they need a decision tomorrow, and I'll do, I'll get some more information. I think they're still waiting to hear back from their insurer to say,
Right.
you're gonna have a new roof, then they have to get in touch with the roofers, is the material there, I mean,
If
we're all
this
in.
takes more than 2 weeks if this takes around 2 weeks to compile, I think that's. too much.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But the thing is, they're gonna find is the roofer, the insurance company's not gonna pay that extra cost. So
No,
whatever
you-
that roof is, say if it's
I think they're aware.
it's
so many thousands of dollars in there, okay, for another 10 grand, you can, and also too, another thing with the metal roofs is, when I lived in Lakeland, my neighbor across the street put one on. When it rained,
It's loud.
it was so loud I could hear it in my house. It sounded like I had a shed, an empty shed in my backyard. It rained, when it rained, it sounded like hailstorm every single time.
empty sheds are not allowed.
But I
I
was
think
told.
you had,
I was
I think you
told
had an insulation problem with your house.
if you put the insulation when they do the fern strips, because they just stick it over your roof, they do a fern strip and they build it, so you got a vapor gap.
Right.
If they put the insulator in there,
It doesn't make any sound at all.
it it deadens the sound. I don't think he did that. There's no way.
No, there's no way. If it was straight on the roof.
It was, oh my God, when it was
Yeah, no.
raining really hard, you could hear that thing. It was so loud.
That was $5,000 saved.
Yeah, but he was an older neighbor, so he didn't.
Yeah, he done good. That's.
It had a Home Depot style look to it.
Those are the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
Because they're, like you say, you go to. some-
I'm not a metal roof
Palm
expert,
Beach,
other
those
than
Key
the
West
fact
things
that
on Palm Beach Boulevard.
They last a long
They
time,
look
and
nice.
they are one of the most.
But the
hurricane
ridges are much
resistant things you can
closer,
put
they
on
don't
your
have that
roof.
wide ridge, it's closer and it gives that more
That's a-
architectural look to it.
I would be open to hearing more information.
Thank you for at least listening.
Actually, send this article out. This is actually a pretty good article.
Could you send it
Yeah,
out, please?
please.
Thank you. Good.
So,
I'm conscious of time.
I don't think we really need a motion on that, do we?
No, I'll take it on as an action
Okay.
and, and
It'll be
I'll,
carried over to the next meeting.
yeah, or at a special meeting.
Special
If there's a time, it becomes time sensitive, I'll let you know, but
Okay.
I have people who's gonna do the research for me,
That's a great thing.
people that are interested. in-
All right, Sunrise, unauthorized tree removal quote. Does anyone not understand this? So basically we had two trees. One needed, actually, long story short, they both needed to come down. One was approved to come down.
Right,
Sunrise cut down the wrong tree.
Whoopsie.
okay,
So,
Thank you.
all right.
thank you, and please have another. So Sunrise is looking for $5,200 to cut down the wrong tree. You know, in all things fair and equal, that's great. The tree needed to come down anyways. I can't get other bids on it now because it's gone, and I don't know if it's actually worth $5,200 to pull down. Tom, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
That's a lot of money.
That was pretty small.
That was
I wasn't for Tom. I was like,
It was the other Tom.
The Danny.
I'm completely amenable to whatever you guys want to do. It was certainly a mistake on Sunrise's part.
Oh, we don't want to pay them.
I know you don't, so, yeah, I'll work that out with Patty, but we'll come up with something that makes the board happy.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think if.
Depending on what tree you should cut down, that'd be, Seventy-one.
Are we gonna be looking?
Well, I think,
I'm looking for right there.
It's like, I gotta go.
wow,
Is the stump in ground? Are we grinding stumps?
I don't believe the stump has been ground
No.
that I'm aware of, no. So like, I understand, and I think Jay understands that we cut the wrong tree down. But you don't, technically, you probably don't even have to pay it all. I think we can work out something amicable, well, maybe we split the difference, but I can certainly do something that will make you guys happy and you feel is fair.
Okay,
If that
so
works
we
for you.
should wait on that.
I'll work it out with Patty next week.
Okay.
Sure.
Tabled for old, business next time,
Yep.
Or we have a special meeting.
special meeting, dear.
There, we have a special meeting,
Yeah.
it's on the agenda.
Appointment of new finance committee members. I'm sorry, I skipped one. Sunrise, Sandpiper Drainage Improvement quote. Did everyone see that?
I don't understand it, but
I didn't fully understand it either, so.
So, yeah,
why is the
since
developer?
this- I was gonna say, since this is Sandpiper, why is this not the builders?
There's
So from my point, an issue hit the app. And I quoted a solution to it. I have no idea when the buildings were built or what is warranty from the builder or us, but
Yeah, you reached out to Park Square.
Not yet.
I was just asked to put together something.
Sure.
There was a lot of issues back with the retaining wall.
Yeah, we went and looked at a break that was caused by the builders in one of the new segments today, because we were out looking at trees. And they've also damaged retaining walls. We have 3 walls that I've seen so far that are starting to spread and fall over, and that's gonna cause a drainage issue as well. So this is all it's builder related, and I think Tom was just trying to do his due diligence to give us numbers to try to fix it. I don't think he really needs to.
Okay,
No, I'm
Yeah.
glad we got something, because we could
No.
get it back to Park Square.
right. I mean, I appreciate that, but I think that this is more the builder's responsibility than ours.
I think the idea, like, I'm a hardscaper, so the idea is when you build retaining walls and you backfill them, normally, whether you compact or you allow the ground to settle a little bit before you finish out new sod. So I think maybe it was just it seems like it might have been a little bit of a rush process, but all it is it's settled down below the lip of the wall and it's holding water. So pretty simple solution all in all, but if the builder's willing to take care of it, I think that's.
But what I have noticed with the retaining walls is they stacked the block and they didn't drive the rebar through it, or actually, pour concrete to hold them together.
So most of the retaining walls that build now are held together with either pins
Right.
or some of them have little lips, but what they do usually use behind them is, and it's engineered spec, so it depends on the height of the wall, but we use something called geogrid. It's a soil stabilization mesh that they put on, as I said, if there's 8 courses high, maybe it's the 2nd, 5th course, but it's designed to stabilize that soil, so you won't see that wall pushing out. My guess is where they drove that tractor up and that wall pushed out, there's probably no geogrid behind that wall, but again, that wall's really short and it may not have been engineered that way, so what I would suggest is those walls are usually engineered, they'll come with a blueprint of how you're supposed to install them. That's the easiest way to look at that and then just get out there with a shovel and dig and you'll be able to know whether they built it to spec or not.
As we were leaving that neighborhood, I pointed out to Patty that the one front is always spreading out like that too. There hasn't been a tractor there, so it's gotta be the way it's been assembled.
It might be close to this one.
It's not even close, right? So
After
This
3
one,
years.
oh, that one might be close, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I think we just need to, if there's multiple things, we just need to sort of. Put them together. I mean, the builder's still there, right? He's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are still
Not for-
selling.
Not for too much longer, but,
20 hours.
Correct.
21
But
hours.
there's, right, but, so, you know, I think.
so I think Patty was gonna reach out to,
Troy. Yeah, I spoke to him today. I'll meet with him next week.
So there's other irrigation that we have shut off now that's connected and related to that issue, so there's stuff off that needs to be on as soon as we can get it.
they ran a tractor right over the, valve system in Cranfield.
Okay, so we'll table this one.
Yeah.
We'll pass it back to Patty. Patty, you can work with Tom on getting an itemized list.
Yep.
Get the Park Square. If you have any issues with Park Square, let me know. Fortunately, I have some experience with them.
so while we have Tom sitting here, do you have anything else that you want
I
to?
have a question. We do need to address the hurricane cleanup situation.
Yeah,
What do we all want to do with that? We pumped the brakes heavily on it at the time because we didn't know the situation. We were just assessing it that the morning prior and the price tag came at a complete shock. So I think the original quote was 5,600 for 6 guys per day, maybe 2 days.
Yep.
Yep, that's a jaw dropping. So
so.
where are we now?
So on this one, how many days are you, this 4,000?
Which property are we looking at?
Let's
This,
like to start with.
with like,
Yeah, Westlake.
yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty,
It's better.
so the time is the time, so I had a conversation with Sean and just went back and had a kind of a little heart to heart with Jay. And just kind of tightened up the budget number on it a little bit, so I'm still expecting. You guys have done a lot of work pushing things into some piles, making piles for us that I was anticipating having to do. I mean, black and white, let's be honest, I mean, cleaning out these beds is still a mountain of work to do with this, to get in and get all of the Spanish moss out of these beds and get everything raked out by hand, pile it up and gone, so. I sharpened the pencil, I know the relationship with Danny, and Sunrise before, some things have been promised or communication has been lacking, I think that's a really nice way to put it. But I just wanted to sharpen the pencil a little bit and see if we can get this done and get this area cleaned up, this weekend.
I think I'm gonna jump in for Kathy here. What is do you have a rough estimate of how many days each of these sections would take? Because it says per day, but does it give us a?
Yeah, so I think this one was, I had this one planned for a crew for a day, again, doing handwork. Same thing for Westlake. Westlake, I think, is a little bit heavier. Obviously, there's a lot more piles and debris to get up. And then Sagewood is a little bit more limited to some very specific areas. A lot of tree work, which you guys have looked at separately, which I think is fine. So I have multiple crews at my kind of beck and call. So I was hoping, you know, with an approval to get the majority of this stuff cleaned up this weekend.
I have a question, Tom. The original email that came through at $5,600 per day. Sorry, what was that for? Was that for all the communities? Was just each community?
Per day.
It's
I know it was per day.
It's a per day rate that Jay set for the crews for hurricane cleanup. And I know normally we charge, you know, when we send stuff to you, it's $60 an hour. So.
But it's my understanding, these are still per day.
Oh, yes, they're per days, but my
Because
guys,
when I do the math here, we were talking about 2 days prior at 5,500 for the whole community.
No.
No,
it's
no.
15.
there were 3 separate proposals.
There were.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
okay.
It was gonna be 17.5 or 16.5.
Oh, okay, I was just focused on the one.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to be transparent, right?
Sure.
So $60 an hour for the guys, 10-hour day for the guys is basically about $3,600. These guys have been working nonstop trying to get hurricane cleanup, so they're in overtime. I have dump fees. It's really not a crazy amount of money, but I understand your concern. So I just, like I said, I wanted to sharpen the pencil. Jay completely agreed, so that's why I sent over the revised stuff to Patty and Sean.
Just so you know, it does not include, you know,
Tree damage.
Tree removal, right.
damage. It just says picking up the debris and raking the debris in the areas.
But the
So
large
according to what
ones
he just
too,
told
right?
me, we're looking at $14,000 to $16,000 with this new quote.
But what it does include is all of the, like the hibiscus trees that are over, all the small roadside trees that my guys can stand up with 3 stakes in, like I'll do that. The big, you know, the bigger trees that are down that I need to have a professional come in and look, an arborist come in and look at would be different.
And we only have those 3 that we have the proposal for. The big trees.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the areas that I've seen, villas and stuff, there's a few
Yeah.
things here and there, and my guys are just taking care of that during the moment. Like,
So the-
I'm not trying to, you know, really push the point. We'll take care of what we can, what's reasonable.
So these are the problem children, if you go around the neighborhood, there's
Mhm.
stuff everywhere, but this is the problem children areas, and they definitely. Say, it looks like some of the homeowners did a little bit of cleanup themselves, which is kind of neat. I know that Westlake did a huge amount, except for right by the barn area that's always been kind of ugly to start with.
Right.
Even one of the homeowners cut the tree that fell in a nice little pieces for us to pick up. There's,
So my question before you go on, would you pick up all that wood that the homeowner did cut and stack up? Would you
Yeah,
guys take
sure.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the reasonable part. Again, my crews, maintenance crews, they have mowers. We don't have bobcats and loaders to like load stuff in on trucks. It's all gonna be done by hand. That's why the labor is a little bit more elevated. Like I could talk to possibly installs about bringing heavy machinery in, but that's gonna blow the budget, right? Those machines are really expensive to use. So this is I think the most efficient way to tackle it.
I think what Kathy's referring to is removal of current debris.
Well,
So
yeah.
like a homeowner cut down a tree, right? They sliced it up. Can you take the
Yeah.
debris?
Yes, I think the conversation that Sean and I had when we walked, it was.
pick up the piles.
The big community areas, we're gonna take the piles. I think some of the smaller areas on the driveways, we'll take what we can fit that day, but it sounded like the city or the county was supposed to take some, so.
They're not taking it.
Okay,
Yeah.
They're
we'll
not
take
taking
what
it.
we
It's
can
not
take.
bad.
I'll commit to that. Now, whether I can get it all done this weekend or not,
Well, I
I will coordinate with Patty to get as much done and then we'll just keep on it.
My point is if let's say we go with this, I would love to do some sort of approach, letting people know, clean up your yards, try to get the big stuff up front, Sunrise is gonna do sweet.
That would be amazing. The more
Yeah.
the stuff gets piled up, certainly.
They'll help you clean it, if you can haul it.
So I have a question,
That's what it is.
that deferment policy that you wrote, can I have that done for you guys, would that help?
You guys don't have the clamshell here?
The clamshell.
So when I lived in Lakeland, Polk County,
Yeah.
so when I had a bunch of trees and stuff go down, we pile it up, it had to be a certain size, you just made the phone call, they called the clamshell. You call, and it was actually a truck that came over,
I
picked up and put it in, and they would go through when we had the hurricane, I think it was Charlie. And took a bunch of trees down, they came through. they
I
called
live in
clamshell.
Lakeland and they're saying probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
So that's why my pile is on the edge of the road,
Yeah.
not on my lawn.
Yeah, the
'cause I don't want
clamshell,
that
man,
spot
that comes
where
out,
I'm
he's
playing in the
exactly-
gray area
he
there,
pick
but
it all up.
If I was on the driveway, so just didn't have a choice.
So-
So I have to.
What do we wanna do here? I know we need to do something.
I just want to be clear. So is this cleaning up HOA property or is this also
Yes.
picking up stuff from people's houses?
This is,
Just
that's a
HOA.
good question. This is HOA areas.
Right.
You're offering to pick up stuff in the houses in these areas.
So anything that Sunrise mows, I need to get clean so I can go back to maintenance as usual, right? So a lot of the smaller stuff I have, I know we had the one issue over at
Right,
State
it's in your way.
with Jeff, I picked the wrong guy, but we cleaned it up. That kind of stuff, we're gonna take care of. I,
Right, so so it's in the HOA area that they're responsible for.
Yes.
They're not gonna go down Shellridge and pick up everybody.
I wasn't expecting shelter, but
Let me go a step further though. We had two homeowners who decided they were gonna clean their front yards and push it into the island across the way.
Now it is an
Now it's now in the HOA property.
Yeah,
And he's volunteered to pick that stuff
Yeah.
up. I don't agree with what they did. I just-
No,
that's.
But even
That's what-
Even for Parkside, the
What I would-
residents were out cleaning, cutting tree limbs down.
Yeah,
So I was really impressed the next morning.
Yeah, we all-
But it wasn't my tree, it was
Pretty impressed by
CBD
that.
tree.
Our section did pretty well.
So,
yeah, I mean, for the most part, when, people
So
put
we have
things
the
and leave
choice.
piles out for us, I'll
We really
do
don't.
my best to try to clean that stuff up
I
as
think
we
we're
go.
belaboring
right?
something that we don't even-
There's certainly limits, but yeah, we try to do what we can each week.
So I don't know if, there's probably more discussion on this, right? We have some other thoughts on this, but I think Patty did some homework and we should probably talk about that as well.
oh, as far as this. Okay.
I have one other proposal, and then he came in 3,500 to do this.
Mhm.
The lake house, and then 3,000 to do the other two properties. But he will not pick up any of the large limbs that are around. The big pieces of wood would be a challenge for him, because they're just 4
did
guys
see
that
that,
house,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So he's not as,
Robust.
I got a
Robust,
verbal
thank
quote today
you.
from Aztec Landscaping that said they would pick it all up for 7,000.
All of it, everything. So clean it up, $7,000 in and out.
It's a small crew, but they've got a big truck and they're willing to take it out of here. He said he would come deal with it, but he's been doing the landscaping in our neighborhood for quite a few people.
Mhm.
He's reliable, licensed and insured, but he's also a small crew, doesn't have the overhead you guys do, so you can pull something like that off. And I'm not trying to cut them out of the loop. I'm really just trying to save us money.
So there's two thoughts here. In normal circumstances, I would always go with Pod A, which is, we hired Sunrise for a year contract and awarded to them, and then we're pulling money opportunities away from them. That is horrible business tactics. Now, given the fact that we are broken, we're negative $71,000. Yeah, $7,000 compared to the $16,000 is a huge savings for us.
Yeah,
Waiting to get that on pencil and paper before we
I-
make a decision on it. He said he would get it to me right tomorrow. We're gonna talk to him today, so that's.
Right.
So since we're discussing this now, I would say, let's make a motion to approve, what does this total come to?
13,000.
You may get a not to
It
exceed.
comes to
I'm
13,000.
making a motion not to exceed the $13,000 expenditure. We'll pass around what we could get via email, and we just won't analyze it until then.
I made a promise we're going to give plasma down the road. They'll pay us for
Right
it.
over there.
It was over on for today.
Free blood.
Right, I mean,
Okay, so the trees fall under the possibility of us getting an insurance claim. I don't know if the cleanup does, but the trees do. So that's one thing that won't hurt our budget as much as I
Yeah, the
expected.
trees in the
So,
fence.
when we get that quote, then we should probably file a claim and get the money back.
sure. I just don't see, spending wise, I don't see an option. It's gonna cost us money.
I know, I'm aware.
And I don't,
I'm just kicking and screaming. I'm sorry.
they're having trouble doing the lawn. Neighbors are getting frustrated.
Mhm.
I don't want this to linger on more than next week, right? So whatever we're gonna do cleanup wise, if we can get that other quote even tomorrow.
I'll get it tomorrow.
If you
Come
can.
heck around water
If
and
you
make a
can.
decision, but if he doesn't come through with it, then we need to go forward.
We
I
need to
agree
go
with you.
forward.
It needs to get done. We've got
Absolutely.
trees and things that need to be uprighted that won't root correctly. We've got grass that's gonna die from this. It's gotta get done.
Now, it depends on the size of the tree. Only I'm sharing with the expert on landscaping that they have for the CBD said if it's more than 4 inches around, don't upright it. It won't
It won't.
take it. So and I'm not,
Most of them-
I'm parroting what somebody else
Most of what
said.
I'm looking at though are the 3 inches and stuff like
So
that.
that-
in front of their foothold.
And I would give those, like we talked about, it kind of depends on how the ball looks, how much it fractured coming out, how it came out. But any of the new installs that Sunrise has done, the hurricane's instantly voiding all warranties.
Right.
To your point, but again, it's about a 50-50 shot, so if it takes 2 minutes for some guys to stand it,
Right,
it's
yeah,
well
take it.
worth, let's see what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Let's see what it does, but
But people
ideally,
are pulling large trees up and I think they're just gonna fall down like my neighbors did. In the
Very-
middle of the
very
storm.
possible.
He put it up after Irma, it fell down in this one.
All right,
So I second your motion as a not to exceed.
not to exceed 13,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can I approach?
Yes.
You can, of course.
Appointment of new finance committee
Do we need,
members.
do we need, Tim, do
So-
we need to be here anymore? Do we-
No.
do we not?
do you
No,
have anything else for me?
no, it's late at night, we don't want to delay you.
No.
Oh, I just gotta go home and fighting kids, that's okay.
All right, well, you're welcome to stay there if you want.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it. You
Thanks,
guys have a
Tom.
good evening, thank you.
Thanks. Appointment of finance committee members. Do we have the finance committee members here?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
only know 2 of them, but yeah, I'm excited that there's a group and Will, you're honchoing it, I guess, is that what I saw? You're the honcho for that?
I'm head honcho. I need to learn a little bit more about what the whole deal is about it, but.
Yeah, okay,
We're gonna.
well, thank you for doing
We
it.
started it, remember? And we were
Yeah.
supposed to get together and then
Took us
just like.
all the way to that point, even if you remember
But
that.
now we got a group, so we have April Dakota,
Mhm.
Charlie Gold.
There,
Claire.
Claire Gondolin,
yes.
all right, Linda Winkler, Gail Bruce,
That's
and
actually-
Jason Depew.
I know who that
I
is.
happen to.
All right, anyone have any questions or
No, I make a
How do
motion.
how do we select?
Get these people.
we requested to on Facebook?
Put them on
Okay, so
Facebook
people
and just
volunteer.
asking people. Yeah.
Great. I'm telling them sorry at the same time.
So they're gonna choose their chairman out of this group.
They're gonna choose the chairman, we're gonna meet with them, Pat's gonna meet with them,
Yeah.
Bill and I are gonna meet with them, we're
I
gonna
think
go over
it's-
the
I think it's
violation
great.
process, make sure they're.
I know a couple of people on there, so
Right.
you've got some.
No, I'm all for
And
it.
this group probably gonna be doing Zoom meetings, okay,
Should I just start writing checks down for the fine?
So we need a motion to accept the committee?
make a motion to
I
accept
did.
the committee member.
Hey, Tommy, real quick, Mark here.
Mark,
Yeah, just to make sure there's a member from each part of Fish Hook Ranch West on this finding committee, right? Every neighborhood is represented.
No guarantee of that, Mark.
They are spread out.
Yeah, they didn't, they
But
didn't.
they are spread out fairly well. I'm looking right here. We have watercolor, Kingfisher, another watercolor, Circuit Crossing, Lambert Bridge.
I don't even know where these things are.
Most of them are wonderful.
Most of them are water.
Most of them are
This has
watercolor.
this has been a very hard thing to get people to do. And we've had people come and and say, I moved, Bernie, they used to come into our meetings. He was the chairman. Mark, so the answer is, he moved because his health was not so good with with his military help, and he had to move to Texas or something because the VA wasn't able to take care of him, so he moved.
But my point
It was
is,
great because he ran.
these are
one
the people who
another-
volunteer, so.
If I may point out two things. You're 100% correct. The answer is these are the people who have volunteered. We don't have options. But the second part of that is, I know the concern. The concern is, they're gonna make the votes in their area, but the reality is you have to remember the finding committee is unfortunately necessary for this board due to the way the charter is written. We need to have the finding committee to assess a sign that we, the board, have already agreed. This is a fine they are in violation of. So to address a little bit, Mark, I don't see the concern. They could be 5 neighbors living next to each other. It's almost irrelevant because they're gonna be looking at the case, going over it, listening to the homeowner, should they be present, and deciding, is this $1,000 fine that we've assessed legit? Did we do our due diligence as a board? Did the violation actually go out in a duly kind manner? If they didn't, and we did something incorrect, then it will be denied and sent back to us.
But isn't it the object of having the committee to oversee appeals and or problems that were caused by the fines as opposed to actually assessing the fines?
No, they're the
No.
ones that are assigned to assigning the fines, not the board.
That's the problem. Yes, they're the ones that actually assessing the fine. We say the board's doing, but they're actually assessing it. We're just guiding
All
them
right,
with all
just
the.
want to make sure I had clarification on that.
And if somebody is in a different neighborhood or service area, to use the lingo, they can solicit one of their neighbors to join the board, right? There's
They can.
nothing that says
That committee.
finding, the
Yeah.
finding
The
committee, not the
charter
board,
is
the
how many
finding
members
committee,
are
yes.
allowed on the committee?
So,
5?
If there was foul play, Mark, we would see and smell it immediately. Because you gotta figure, if we see that somebody's getting past the legal, we know we're now spending money. We're trying to assess $1,000 fine and it's being blocked by the fining committee. They better have a really good reason as to why, and we better have dropped the ball on it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.
Welcome.
Just a little bit of insight. I'm in agreement that we could have got people from each area, would have been great, but
It'd be great.
it's just, it's not feasible, as you know, people don't volunteer easily, so it's hard to do that.
yeah, I'm excited these people did.
Yeah, me too, actually.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, no, I agree. I was just too slow.
In the opposed side.
All right, motion
As
carried.
fast as my brain works.
Amenity hours. By the way, if anyone watching this later, congratulations on the fining committee. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Don't scare them away, that's okay.
It's been a long,
Thank you, thank you.
Did I miss something here?
Are you jumping over the 2?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Back up. I'm sorry, my bad. I keep following along the tree here. I got it. Let me go back now.
I'm sorry, didn't you write this?
I did, but I'm looking at the new business tab and not the agenda tab. So I moved it.
Excited, that's what we. Fine.
All right, we have 2 appeals here. Our first appeal is 14006 Quarry Lake Road. This is the fence installed without approval over in Westlake on the corner, big wooden fence. Are the owners here? I believe they wanted to speak to the board.
They are not here.
Have you heard from them?
I did message them, they did not know about the meeting tonight.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so they're not here, there's time.
Okay.
Well, we'll just pass it. We really have nothing to notate on this. The fence is not allowed. It was put up without previous approval. They are in violation status and they will continue to do so, unfortunately. Any disagreement there?
And I was curious, it's written for the 3 people, but it seemed to.
Well, that's kind of the other one. So let's talk about that. Yeah, you're right. So
Is this 3 people appealing?
it's
or
really
what?
only one person in violation, right? Because they erected a fence. The other person gets to keep his fence currently. and wants to maintain keeping that fence, as a board, I would like to encourage him later on down the line to not keep it and let us finish our project of put a carcass all the way up. But there's no violation there. The third house, the fence is already down, they're looking to put one back up.
And
That's who, there he is.
I'm sorry. Okay. You can speak freely now, because you know, we're on that topic.
Please,
That's
why not?
husband and wife.
We just landed from a business trip, so literally just got back.
We delayed long enough for you.
Well, you made it safe.
So this is Rachel and Matt.
So the facts, our fence was there, it was installed improperly, it's been there since 2016, when we took pictures on our lot, no house, it was installed by the developer. It was not installed properly, no footings, it deteriorated, we did not know for several years that it was our responsibility to care for that, and it started falling down. We had this whole community thing where we decided on what to do, we were going to take care of it. The fence is irreparable, we would like to put it back, the same material, the same place. Exactly the way it was, we're not asking for funding, we're not asking you to put anything different. It was there, same condition that it was.
A few points,
Yeah.
if I may. So I think overall, some consideration should be made that we're one of a few houses that back up to the public school. I think using the rules that apply to 100% of the houses when we are a special case, there should be some acknowledgement of that. No one else, I totally agree, if it's residential to residential, yes, this is residential to a middle school. We have tons of traffic, it's a security issue, privacy issue. On top of that, as Rachel said, when we moved in, the fence was there, wood fence is there, it's on my survey.
Wood fence.
And it's delineated wood fence on the survey. So it was already put in. Our point of view is, we could have just left a deteriorated fence up there sagging. That doesn't seem to be a good solution, and technically, we could have done that, we were within our rights to have an eyesore fence just on our property. We thought we're doing the right thing by replacing it on our own dime, same footprint, same material, but yet we're being prevented to actually make the community look better. That just doesn't seem, looking at the big picture, privacy issue, we're actually improving the aesthetic of the lot and of the neighborhood. It seems kind of, to me, a bit absurd that we're not being allowed to do what was already there. I can totally understand if you're saying, we want to put something new in that it was not there. I would agree with you guys 100%, but it was there, and we could have had easily just left a sagging fence up and been done with it, and that would have been the end of it. So I just feel like all those things, and the fact that no consideration was given to the fact that we are a special case, like, it's hard to deny. We do back up to a middle school, and you could say, well, you knew that when you bought the lot. When I bought the lot, there was a wood fence. So it's like, furthermore, unless you want me to stop talking, but I can keep going.
Well, I mean, I just want to explain where this started and where we are now to the best of my knowledge. It didn't happen overnight. It feels like that, but it didn't. This has been going on for over a year now. But I totally understand where you're coming from, because you guys have a loss. You've lost something you had. It was partially lost, whether it was going to be gone tomorrow or next year. It was absolutely stripped from you. I see that 110% and I feel it. That being said, and I believe you are also. That being said, the community, both Westlake individually and the board on a separate occasion individually, have gone forth with spending thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, I believe, in the idea of, we want to see a hedge, podocarpus 6 feet tall, straight down that whole line shot, and removal of the wood fence, right? That was the vote by both the community as a singular entity and the board as a singular entity. It's united. In addition to it, the 5 ARC members are also all against the wood fence. So the proposed idea is exactly that, and we're working on that process right now, which is why I mentioned earlier, the middle house would love to incentivize to get the rest of the fence pulled down and the podocarpus finished. In addition to, you then still have the option, if you don't already, to get the aluminum fences that we put up throughout the neighborhood, 4 feet tall.
I have something to add to this. when we were pulling down the fence, Rachel actually asked me if they would load it up for them out of the backyard. They actually asked us to remove the fence and we threw it on the truck at the expense of the HOA, no additional expense, but to do that. It wasn't that it was taken from them, they asked us to remove it.
I get it. It sounds like.
One note on that as well,
Yes.
since we're bringing that up, when the vote was put to the Westlake residents, there were three options. PVC fence,
Right.
wood fence, photocopics, there were quotes provided to the residents. So those are not options. Why was I giving that an option to vote?
I could actually answer that because some of those I pushed through to make sure you had options.
But if it wasn't allowed, what if the residents just happened to pick PVC fence? What would you guys have done?
We would have spent the $65,000 erecting PVC fence.
But if it's against you're claiming that it's against the code to put in the PVC fence, the HOA law, but then why would it be allowed?
No, we're not. I'm not claiming it's against any
Well,
code.
that was what's cited when I submitted my.
It's against our current ARC to have a wooden fence anywhere on property. That's what it says in the ARC. Now, you're right. You're saying, could we make stipulations? Could we make amendments to the ARC? Of course we can. But as I'm saying, the amendment that we are making at ARC is we don't want to make an amendment. We've had the board speak, we've had Westlake speak, we've had ARC committee speak. No one wants to make a wood fence amendment. But you're 100% correct. Had Westlake would have said, hey, we want the PVC, we want the nice PVC material, we would have had to amend it.
And I think it's part of the reason Westlake didn't choose is because some of the information given was not factual. That was presented, it was saying the fence is X amount of years old. That was not true.
I was actually there for that meeting. It was very truthfully told out. Everything.
No, we have a photo, like the fence, it was saying the fence was there since 2018.
The fence was-
Clearly, you see the photo of 2016. I have a date, like, the information that was provided was incorrect. I'm not saying it was malicious. It wasn't, I'm not saying someone purposely misled, but they were misled.
But does it change the condition the fence was in currently in 2022?
Not at all, but it's saying that this fence deteriorated at this rapid rate. It's just not a factual statement. So people are basing their information on something that's just not true. I'm not saying, of course, the reason.
You're saying turning them away from the wood fence option altogether.
Right, it was, I'm not saying, like, our fence, obviously, the reason why we asked to have it removed, because it was in bad shape, it was not installed properly. We didn't pull down a fence that's in great shape, it was in bad shape.
So someone that did a presentation, I would like to make a statement that might be helpful to you. The purpose of trying to get rid of the fence was twofold. It wasn't allowed in the ARC, but the second thing was it requires us building revenue every single year from every homeowner to keep it so we can replace it when it does need to be, which added to about $12 or $13 per month per user. After you spend that kind of money, it doesn't make any sense to keep putting in the asset. That's what the argument was. I've got pictures of my lot, which had the fence, wasn't there in 2019. My house didn't get built till 2019. The section all by that fence from where the barn forward was put in 2019, even Google Maps shows that. So that part of it there is different, but it doesn't make any difference. It did deteriorate pretty quickly. Yours was in really bad shape by the time they got to it, right? It was way, you got pictures of that. Yeah, so that being said, the reason that the ARC has this rule is because they do tend to get bad after a while. It takes a lot to keep care of them. And the reason for making the judgment on trying to get the fence replaced with something different was to keep from it being an ongoing expense here forward. Now, with yours, if you left the fence up or fixed the fence as it was, we're letting that be basically ignored until such time that they need to come down.
Right, that's what it seems like. If we just didn't remove the fence, right? And I just said, let's just rate it's sagging, let me just push it up, then this wouldn't be like that.
If I could speak to that just real quickly, just two things. First, I have a question for the board, and then I have a statement, regardless of the answer. Board, how do you feel? Do we want to make any stipulation for these three homes? Doesn't have to be a wooden fence, could be a PVC fence. Tracks is not.
May I speak?
Yes.
And I absolutely sympathize with what you said, but there is another way to look at it. You're not as special a case as you think. Yes, you back up to the school, which did exist, it's pre-existing, right? So you bought the house knowing there was a school behind you.
Right.
The answer to privacy in the community whether you back up to the school or you back up to a neighbor you don't like, is foliage. It's trees, it's bushes, and if you want security and privacy, there's the aluminum fences that can go up to 6 feet, I think.
He has an aluminum fence in his yard.
He
Okay.
is one.
So the privacy issue is, I mean, and so that's what I did. We put a pool in. I have neighbors on either side, but I also face up to the street. So I didn't put up privacy fence. I put up border carpets across the yard. So that it's not perfect, someone could stand there and look in, but the bottom line is it gives you enough privacy. So you're not as unique, I think, as you would think you are when other people's yards face out to public areas. It's just the
I think
definition.
the only difference is, yes, many houses. There's a butt up to the street, but there is you're not directly on the street. You've got there's what is swale, a sidewalk, you're not like physically on the street. There is no buffer. We are there and the school's on the other side. So
The school street's 12 feet from your fence.
I don't know what it is.
It is. It's 12 feet from your fence.
I still, I get it.
I mean,
I totally
I
understand, I totally
understand.
understand the complaint.
I'm just giving you a different perspective, right? That it was pre-existing.
Right, but
Do you
again,
mind-
when we bought the land, the fence was there and we have photos of that. So,
Separation.
right, so we're like, right, this is the school's no problem. We have a fence. I'm not reading the HOA rules in 2014 or 16 when I put a deposit down on the lot. I see a fence, I go, privacy from the school, great. Now it's saying, well, the developer, I guess, violated the rules. I don't know if that's true or not, but they put it in because it was, I guess, a county ordinance that you have to have a separation.
It's a little more to it than that. They didn't violate, they just put in the fence, the developer's allowed to build, we have to take over. The point is, we voted to not. So my question still remains, do we want to make an exception to this?
Well, I do, I'm hesitant, and less so in your case than in the person that didn't have a fence. Because that, now you're setting a precedent to say, someone did something that is not, which is not approved, they did it, and now they want post facto acceptance of a rule. However good it is or not, it does set a precedent for us to say, well, if you let them have a privacy fence, why can't I have a privacy fence?
It's
And someone built it.
across the board for all three in this case. That's the
Right.
question I'm asking of everyone
Right.
is,
Well, and the one other thing is, one of the fences, that's why lumping them as one case, I think there are mitigating circumstances in different ones. One of the statements I read in here says it only faces on the school,
and,
which is not true.
Oh, it's just not
The
true.
corner house has it.
but that's a
on the
different
return.
problem. Right,
Different property.
different problem.
Right, but this is a three-person request. So
No,
I-
Yeah.
But Matt, just to
Right.
clarify this a little, the request that I am making of the board is, do you feel like putting an amendment that allows the school facing three houses to have some sort of fence structure, we could decide? Or do we want to leave it as is? Because regardless, that side fence needs to come down.
Okay.
That's the question. How do we feel? Mark? Don't know if you're available.
Hey, Tommy, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, any thoughts or opinion on this?
It's a little choppy where I'm driving in the middle of nowhere, but I pretty much heard everything Max said, and I concur with what he was saying.
Okay, well, I'll just kick it off with. Like I said, I wanted to get a feel for the board, and then I'm not gonna lie, the feel for the board, when mum's the word, the answer is we don't want to amend a wooden fence or a structure of any kind. And I can say that because pretty fair confidence, it was the same with the ARC committee. It was the same with the Westlake vote originally, which is why we've spent enough money moving forward with the plan as we are.
The Westlake vote was because the residents didn't want to spend that money and be assessed that fee.
Correct, you're 100% correct, and that's the turnout, so Westlake voted for the fourth part, and that's what we're doing. That being said, I do understand the loss. What Mark and I were talking about a week ago and I'm gonna push forward with the Westlake committee is, we'd like to incentivize that center fence to come down. We'd like to maybe be able to pay and get the rest of that photocarpus finished on your property. At least get the job complete, because you did, in fact, lose something you once had. And I do feel that the board is somewhat responsible to help replenish that in the best way
Thank you.
possible.
I appreciate you.
I don't know if that's gonna happen, again,
Well, at least I feel like.
it's a financial discussion, it's a board discussion, but.
So.
And-
We appreciate that. You
And
guys-
just so you're aware, I'm hell bent on that, as when we first started this project, I really wanted the vote to go to Westlake, the whole line, not just the public areas.
That
But
became a
again,
volatile subject, so we.
Westlake did
Fair.
not want to spend the money on the individual
Right, Westlake
residential.
didn't want to spend their budget on someone else's fences, basically.
That being said, I would still like to push that back into maybe in 2023 consideration, because again, I think you were lost something. I think those three houses were lost something they once had. That's just a personal feeling.
No, I agree.
So the consideration for that, this is just the stupid thought is that it has to be irrigated.
Yeah, it has to be irrigated. I thought about that too, and the thought process was, yeah, we pay to get it irrigated, it's going to be our water. Just as the HOA property is gonna be our water. So we'd have no problem doing the line.
Irrigation would be there, he's also talking about the irrigation line would have to
The
be
drip-
installed.
Basically, they got the
Drip-
valve
drip.
installed and the drip line
Yeah.
installed for their hedge, yeah.
Again, just the thought process. It's a separate conversation we'll have to have, but
Well, I
Well, let's
also
ask
do
them,
too.
how do you feel about that?
We consult myself.
and before you consult her, because here's the thought process that goes through my head too, even as an I gotta think sometimes as a homeowner and then sometimes as the board, right?
Well, we all do.
We all do. I'm sorry, we all do. I was thinking about this last week, and if we install the drip lines, okay, because then it comes to the question of whose podocarpus is it? When the podocarpus needs to be replaced, is Patty writing violations that you haven't?
Well, you're the one who stated that'd be their drip line. The point is that it's an extra cost that we would have to consider now. Not in 2023, because I'm getting ready to dig up pipeline and put stuff in.
Okay.
now.
And
Well, I think it wouldn't be tied to what we have. It would have to be, the board would have to pay their irrigation to someone to tie into your irrigation system. We would pay to put, if I'm going on what you're saying, we pay to put the bush, we pay to have it installed, and then after that, it's now like any exterior fence, it becomes, or barrier, it becomes the homeowner's responsibility to maintain it. Any
that's
community,
one way.
almost any community, that is the case, you know. So that is, I think, what your compromise is, you know.
Well, kind of, I think, right?
that's half of it. So the compromise on that is podocarpus one way or the other. The question is, who owns the podocarpus? If we own the podocarpus, then we have to water and maintain it.
No.
You own the podocarpus, you have to water and maintain it. Since this is a unique situation, the board will consider paying to get the job done for you. That's all you gotta do is take over the.
Correct. I think that's.
You're asking,
I think it's very
to pay
fair.
for it, or are you asking for the master to pay for it?
I'm sorry?
Are you asking?
It's your house.
Okay,
No,
I'm not, so someone gonna pay for my hedge?
if you wanna put it back in, yes.
Okay.
Remember, the original conversation was podocarpus, right?
All right, that's $6,000.
You know, I mean, so I hope I didn't come across as dismissive.
Again, Sean, I'm not saying. we didn't have to-
I'm trying to say, I don't need it.
Mayor, never.
Meeting is getting out, kids.
It's
I understand. So that it might be the consideration. Consideration.
Felt like we were getting.
Again, going out there, the law.
I think part of the. Yeah, part of it is, there's a difference for having something that was put up in another.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure at one point I did discuss about putting powder carpets back there at one point. Is that something that's acceptable to you? I mean, is that?
Yeah, it's a conversation we just had.
No, I'm talking about,
Well, we,
to do it.
ideally, if I'm footing the bill with my own money, I do not want to put.
No, you want the facts.
Exactly.
I get it.
If you're paying for it, then I like it a lot better.
So what I'm hearing is you're open to the,
Are you saying it's gonna go back for a vote? Like, I don't wanna walk away here and feel like we made progress, and then you say that this is.
I'm saying this. The fence thing is off the table. The Potocarpus thing, I'm gonna go to bat for you. I'm gonna try to get it done. The board's gonna try to see if we can financially fix it for you. It has to be another conversation because we don't have another quote for it yet. What I'm asking for your opinion on is, would you be acceptable to the idea of us footing the bill?
It wouldn't be us, it would be Westlake.
I'm sorry, Westlake footing the bill. Okay, getting the Potocarpus installed, getting the irrigation fixed up, but then you would be taking over the maintenance. Because the other problem with this equation is we have 3 houses that need to kind of get on board with this, and one already has probably a very.
So we are saying the decision on our home means that the other people have to comply? Like, I can't make our neighbors do something.
You might be lucky because I'm guessing you're that corner, the third house in?
Yes.
Yeah. There's,
Probably not. If you were telling me you're the middle house, I'd say you'd have to worry about the corner house, because you're the corner house, maybe not. And again, I'm not saying this all is even gonna happen. I don't know if we can afford it. I'm just saying, I understand you, and that would be my.
The only comment I have is it's important for the homeowners that are in from Westlake is that takes money from everybody in Westlake, which means I've got to find a budget or increase the dues to cover it. And that's something that's a real item at this point.
The other option though is, you could just let us put the fence up with my own money and we could save the money. I'm willing to pay.
That's right. I hear you on the fence, but again, you have to understand, do you vocal outstanding no on the fence? Like, I can't beat it with a dead
Can I
horse.
just lie? Like why?
Because the 7 of us right here don't want a wooden fence. The 5 of us at the ARC don't want a wooden fence, and the majority of Westlake doesn't want a wooden fence.
73%.
At my house, so I mean, I would challenge that the majority of Westlake doesn't want a wooded fence in my house. I mean, that seems like a hard thing to,
True.
yeah,
I feel we're pedaling backwards.
Well,
I
you have
hate it.
one person here that seems to have a voice that is saying that what you're proposing means that he's gonna have to take money from the other residents and going to spend that, and that could be a bad situation.
for us as a.
I'm sorry, we have neighborhood people.
Look.
I'm not gonna say they can pay for my programs. So what we're asking is, we want to put back what was there in exactly the way it was, but better, because it's actually standing up in the proper way.
Sure.
And
We don't wanna be the Westlake jerks, because now our neighbors saying, I'm paying for your hedges, jerk.
that's not what we're asking for.
I,
So,
So the fence.
so the option you're presenting to us is not really an option.
well, I don't know. I think it was just spun that way in the past 30 seconds. No, it is very
It
viable.
was good before, I think we were seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, same, Something spun off. You have to understand this. This could happen in the master, this could happen in Sagewood. It's still gonna be their budget. Don't let the statement fool you. Okay, I can find something. He is our treasurer. He knows what he's doing. But the point is, yes, the dues go up, and that's just the way it is. That's the part of being an HOA community. If you're hurting or your neighbor's hurting and it comes to Westlake to pay for it, or even the master to chip in, let's say the master was making money and Westlake was hurting, it'd be coming out of our account to help. So, no, it shouldn't be spun in any negative light. It should be spun in the light of what we're trying to do is incentivize the neighbors, the 3 neighbors that lost something, and incentivize to continue the project as planned, which is a nice, beautiful roll of Potocarpus. Why can't we do that? It's shown very successful throughout the rest of the neighborhood, everywhere.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I'm with you.
Hey, Tommy, Mark here real quick. I got a good signal.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to something real quick, that the requirement here is for privacy and security. The requirement is not for a wooden fence. So we got to meet the requirement. If we can meet the requirement through the way that also is in accordance with the rest of the community, then I don't see a problem with that. Potocarpus.
Breaking up there, Mark,
Sorry, Mark, we're losing you really bad.
not 5 by 5.
Roger. Hey, Tommy, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Put it in the chat, okay.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna throw something out on the table to address the concern of fence. So the fence was put up under the auspices of the master.
No.
No,
Never.
the developer, the ICI, developer
Correct,
for
under
Westlake.
the auspices of the
Of
master
the single
developer.
entity at the time.
And therefore, why can't the master community
We could.
do that?
The thing you have to consider with that though is that, ICI was a separate builder over the master builder. It's not the same. But not that that's an issue, I'm just saying that the one thing that I have concerns about is that, give you an idea, our budget last year was $15,000 for any type of improvements.
Which budget we're talking about?
For
Westlake.
for Westlake.
But I just tried to take it out of the Westlake and say that aren't, let's
But
just.
we're
table it.
$71,000 in total.
I know,
This could be a 2023.
but I mean, may have to wait, till next year. I mean, if we're $71,000 in the hole, right, I'm sorry, this is a separate question, but so. All right, we'll go that when we talk about the budget, but are we gonna be in the whole 71,000 next year?
Depends on what the outcome of what we do is. I mean, it does. We have to figure out a way to catch up. We're just gonna carry forward.
Okay. We'll talk at the board meeting, but I have to be as honest with you, I don't really understand if we stopped working with an organization that was supposed to save money, but we're getting deeper in the hole.
We're not deeper in the hole. This is the result of it.
So, all right, but, all right, so my point is, then, if that's the case, I'll be honest with you, I would almost say let them put their fence up then. Right, I mean, because, we either figure out a way to make these things, and please understand why we're saying this, right, at least from my perspective. I agree with everybody that a straight line of a nice hedge facing the high school is the face of the community to that high school. As
Middle
opposed
school.
to mixed, excuse me?
It's a
Middle
that's
school.
all.
Yeah, it's gonna be a high school in years.
It's a little short.
Little shortcut.
Let's just say the school, right? And all the people that drive in there see a nice hedge going along and they say, wow, this is a nice neighborhood. If you have 3 different fences that age at different times, and I've been in homeowner communities, those wooden stake fences will look like crap faster than you realize. They just do. They're just not really nice fences. They do what they do, but they'll age at different times, they'll have different wear and tear, and they'll just start looking like that.
And to add a little more to where you were getting at prior to that, I know this isn't a budget discussion, but this could very well be a master cost. Okay, because this helps the whole community, and maybe it's a twofold, right? It's a cost we're taking on, a maintenance watering that they're taking on, a cost that the master takes on to use the blow on Westlake, but Westlake takes on the reserve cost. Right? It could be a
It
simple.
wouldn't be a reserve if it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, I'm sorry, it wouldn't be a reserve because it's.
Yeah, I
there.
just keep
thinking we're.
It's just doing the right thing for a homeowner and for the community. It's trying to create a win-win situation, which is, I think, what you're trying to do.
That's
No, I'm not trying to oppose that. What I'm trying to make is that we have logical direction to go forward with it or whatever we decide to do, because basically what we're doing is we're paying for an asset for a homeowner, which is unusual for a homeowner association to do. So we're buying an asset. And
That's actually not that unusual.
it,
A homeowner community frequently builds an external fence and the maintenance and repair and replacement falls upon, the fence becomes the homeowner's responsibility, therefore they own that fence. So it's not unusual for a homeowner association to build something that faces the outside of the community and then transfers the maintenance and ownership of that to the person that buys that one.
okay, but keep in mind that all 3 of those have an aluminum fence and a hedge already.
No, I know.
So I'm just trying to say is that
The fence that we have is to separate the residence to residence, which is the common situation that the HOA rules exist for. We're asking to put a wooden fence between the residential area and a public space. A road is not a public space in the community. This is a public space.
chain link fences there.
Literally just, I don't care how many rows of hedges there are in the
Yeah.
property, right? You wanna.
No, I'm just trying to say that whatever we're doing here, we're adding another layer. It's all fine, but if we're okay with all that, I mean, we want to build it into the master, whatever the case should be. I know that as soon as we brought up this topic with the group that was involved in the voting, the 73% of the people who voted on this, they were dead set against doing anyone. In fact, they thought that,
I don't,
okay, so.
I hear that Westlake was, but what I'm also hearing, and in my best opinion too, is the board's not in agreement with Westlake. it sounds like there's room for discussion on how.
I mean, I'm sorry,
What do you mean the board's not in agreement with what Westlake?
Westlake did not want to pay to get porta carpets up on these 3 houses.
that's correct.
And they still don't.
And we're trying to figure out. a
We're
way.
trying to figure out a way that we do.
Now, I have to be honest with you, the same concern I have with doing what we're trying to work out is setting the precedent. Because you're not the only property that faces an external property.
The
people that
solution
live in
is-
the Oaks have a stretch of people road that back up on Boyette Road and the public space there.
They've already.
And they've gone
And
to
then-
CDD multiple times.
Correct. So, I hope you understand the concern and the challenges that you're presenting, so,
We're actually presenting this in a context, this is a unique situation.
but it's not, that's my point, I'm trying to explain that, as far as,
Those people didn't have the fence.
We still have, we need to hear from Mark real quick, but Matt, 100% in their defense, it is completely different. They had a fence barrier, we took it away.
fair
Okay,
enough, fair enough, there you go.
But
There's
we
never a
didn't
fence over there.
take it away. They asked to have it taken away.
I understand that we're not allowing them to put it back. We could go round robin
Okay.
all day. We took the
All
wooden
right,
fence.
what is it?
Let's hear from Mark.
Okay, very reasonable limit.
Requirement is for privacy and security, not for a wooden fence. Is there a way that we can meet the requirements and also stay in accordance with the ARC and the rest of the community? It's not an asset for the homeowner, it's a barrier between the community and a public school.
Which is kind of what I.
Which is what Mac has been saying.
Right.
Right, and that's why from a community and presenting not only your privacy and security, but presenting a good face to the community as the community. Same reason we have a nice entrance way and so that's where I kind of fall into, I would not have any problem with the master paying for that.
I wouldn't either. And Sean, it's like you say, we gotta act quick on it. We should get it quoted so we know what.
Well, I can get to the quote, I mean,
Yeah, we can.
I know what the pot of carpets will cost, it's, $35, every 2 feet,
Said concur with Mac.
so.
Thanks, Mark. I feel validated.
I do want to say
Don't know
that
where the money's
Go ahead,
going.
John.
the Encore will probably not want to participate in it.
Okay,
Because when you talk about the master, you're talking about everybody.
I understand that, but, yeah, okay, but as the board,
How
we
is that
make the
okay?
decision for the whole community.
We make decisions for us,
Right.
or decisions for Westlake and Sage.
I understand that, but Encore as a group has to have their consideration as well.
I'm considering it right now, and it's not considered. In my opinion, right? Okay, I'm telling you, if we're gonna do this as a master, as a community upgrade, right, which is the proposal. Okay, makes the community look around, that's the whole community, and that includes the 256 that I'm.
You can choose not to vote or excuse yourself. from the-
Well, I don't think.
I can tell you that this is not over. It's not over because we're so far away from Westlake. We're all the way over here. Nobody helped build our fence. We put the fence up ourselves. We take care of the fence ourselves that we have around there. Okay, you didn't pay for the fence. We paid for the fence. So for you to come in and put up their fence and say we have to pay for it because it makes their community and all of us better. We don't think it makes ours look better because it's so far away. It's not something that's going to affect us.
John, I totally understand.
Noted. Yeah, but yeah, John, I know that. Yeah, I noted, but so they could say, well, we never go out the front gate, so we don't want Christmas ornaments up there, or we don't want.
We paid for the gate.
We don't use the pool.
No, I'm talking about
How do
the
we
front,
get in
the front entranceway or the pool.
No, actually, we paid for the pool.
Yeah,
I know, that's what I just said.
but you never go to the pool, so we don't wanna care about the pool. I'm sorry, there's a master that encompasses all of the service areas. Right.
Except that by law, we're required to be there. We can't leave and do our own HOA, which we have.
That is correct.
So we have no choice in this matter. If you make us do it, we will do it, but I don't think they're gonna be happy about it, and I can't tell you what's gonna happen as a result of it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, I mean, it's not a huge sum of money.
It's more than you think.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot of
How
money.
many, is that, what's the width of the
Those 3
lot?
houses,
What's
probably
your
12
lot?
grand.
Okay.
My surveys.
Is it 80 feet?
Yes,
No, so I'm just trying to figure out 12.
it's about 12 grand to do 3 houses. Without the irrigation, that's what's gonna cost the plants. We said,
240, every 2 feet, it's 120 pieces. At what price?
$35 a piece.
I wanna say while they're figuring that out,
How-
there's a part of me that
what's the
agrees with you.
distance?
I just know that in the community I live in, I don't necessarily reflect them, I reflect everybody. But I live in a community that has spoken
Okay.
vocally to me about a number of things, so I have a feeling that 256
It's-
votes would not be in favor
It's
of
about
this.
8 grand worth
out
of
of the
plants.
whole
I
community.
got $4,800.
How did
But
you
I'm
get-
listening to you.
35 times 120.
If we can come up with a reasonable figure, then I'll argue for it as much as anybody else.
For his property,
That's just for his property. We'll have to-
No, you said 80, sorry, 80,
240,
80 feet times 3 is 240. And you're gonna put a plant every 2 feet,
right,
so that's half, so there's 120 plants. You said plants are $35. I did public math and it's scary, but it comes out to $4,800.
yeah, but you've not included the fact that we have to put, right now I've got a $7,000 quote to do the irrigation for the one section. Let's say it's $4,000 more. And I have to clear the existing fence, that cost us $6,000 last time.
But there's no fence there.
No, but there is on the other two.
And you have hedges in your backyard already?
Yep.
So we could probably, chances are the irrigation's cheap, probably tap into the already existing drip line for the rear hedges.
And that could be a quid pro quo that we work, but you know, I just. I fall strongly on Tommy that this is a different case than most places. I've tried to go down the path. I think it's the reasonable thing to do, both for the community and for them. Not every subsection of the community, but you know what? That's what happens when you manage a 1,250 house
The
community.
good thing is.
Every house or every section
You don't
may
have to
not
sell
like
me in
it.
the idea, is sound.
Yeah, no, I agree, we're,
You have to sell me in how it's gonna work.
we're beating ourselves up here.
Right,
What point is, at a separate meeting, sometime soon, we're going to consider this, that is the kind of offer on our table, we need to get in touch with the other two homeowners as well. And we gotta get it quoted, so we know what we're dealing with, and we gotta know how to pay for it. That's,
but we are understanding you're agreeable to the pilot for this instead of the wooden fence. Yes, if it's at our expense.
got it.
Of course.
Okay,
That's a good of course though, Sean, I mean, that's someone that just doesn't want to pull it out.
well, I mean,
Maybe some people don't wanna help us, like, we're trying to be good neighbors, we're trying to work with it, like, anything we want a fence, you say no fence, we're like, cool, what can we do, what can we meet halfway? And like, if that vibe's not coming from a certain area, but I like what I'm seeing most often, I thank you for working with us.
yeah, so you're agreeable that if we as a board agree to install the plants and you as the homeowner take over the upkeep on it, you're good with that?
We're good with that.
That's the current thing.
It's a good happy medium.
Right, and may come back and say, you know, how about if you have someone tap into the water and then we'll work out a deal.
The,
Right, I mean, you're gonna build a fence, it's less than building a fence, right? So.
Okay, we gotta move on with
Yeah, we
this.
killed it.
I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you guys.
No, thank you.
Yeah, what do
Yes.
we do?
Patty will contact you if you two can help in any way, shape or form. We have two neighbors that need some encouragement. Please help in that department if you can. That would be my only request. Other than that, we're sending letters, so.
Particularly the middle one.
Yeah, that's probably.
All right, well, then we'll deal with it.
I can't speak for other people, I can speak for my situation. But I'm reading it to you.
The point is, we had a conversation here, it's recorded, it's gonna be posted, others are gonna be able to view it. You can spread the word and you're happy with it, please try, that's all I only request.
Yes, and we appreciate you coming
And
and speaking,
Glad to
thank you.
Joe Stas. Yes.
Whole meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yes,
Okay.
and thank you for your time.
Moving on.
Yeah,
We only got two left, probably pretty quick, 2023 amenity hour.
The don't we have the other,
The other fence. we
the
have to
other,
do.
It's the fence, we have nothing to do with it, right? We do, so we
I
have
have-
13914, but.
And Mark's probably, I hope Mark's still on, because, but I have, again, with the idea of trying to work with somebody. And it looks like, the picture, I don't have the picture anymore, I thought I had it, it's somewhere here. The one you sent out today. I thought there might be a compromise there. And the compromise there might be, they just have to build some kind of green.
I don't think this is that one, is
No.
this, no, this is the wood fence, this is the first house.
Oh, I thought we finished the whole thing.
No,
The
that's.
wood fence has to come down.
The other one doesn't have an appeal yet, right?
No, we haven't. even
Okay,
done
so
that.
I think, at least from my perspective,
It's just
the people who
violation.
built the wood fence, when they were told not to build the wood fence,
That fence needs to
it's
come down.
pretty straightforward. They need to take the fence down, and then we can start discussing what the options are as they move forward. That's how I feel about it.
There's really, in my opinion, there's really not a discussion on it at this point, even given what we talked about now, kind of solidifies that further. It's in violation, it's going through the process,
And they requested this meeting.
and they requested this meeting, and this is the discussion.
All right, I mean. I'm happy to be corrected.
Amenity hours, okay, I hope you all kind of had a chance to look at it.
why,
Yeah.
may I ask why
Yeah,
the
the one
discussion on
that
changing
is-
the hours?
Oh, cons-
Where did that come from?
Not just a thought in my head.
Oh,
Really nowhere else. We don't have to change them. We have to do addition.
Mhm.
But we don't have to change the current. I only brought it up because we were talking about signage and some of this is a mess to me. Our signs do not have interchangeable times, so we can't change the times on. They're already engraved in. That's a problem. And our rules and rates for all amenities have the hours built into them, and they have hours like dawn. I don't have a setting for dawn guys, so. I do. No, I mean, I get it, but it's done just, it's a horrible, they did this horribly. It's just my opinion, it should have never been done in the formal way it's done. It shouldn't have been in the rates and rules and amenity facilities document. They should all be notating where it notes hours to the amenity hours policy. And then we should just have a very simple policy like this, where we can change the amenity hours at will. Right now, we really can't. So the first question was, do we want to? And either which way, we're gonna need signage for the two new amenities. And what do we want to do with the hours for those? So I just put down my suggestion to start the conversation. And if we're in disagreement, we don't need to conclude this today, but sometime soon.
So is this in conjunction with
This is
the
in-
security and
Yep.
when your fob works and doesn't
Yeah,
work and?
He's a non-chaos theory man, he's a control guy, that's it.
Well, it is because we're at some point, we're gonna open up the lake house, right? So now, so we need to say, what are the lake house hours gonna be for accessibility? What's the game room hours gonna be for accessibility? So that's kind of what I added in here.
Right, yeah, no, I get it.
Follow the pool hours, do we?
Okay, I just wanted to.
It's
get some
kind of understand
background.
where it's coming from, right?
Yes,
So I make a motion that we accept the hours as amended by you.
I'm not even sure I accept that motion.
Just make it a motion, it doesn't have to be seconded, I mean, what's the difference between dawn and 7 o'clock? Yeah, Mark seconded it,
Yes.
thank you, Mark.
well, I was
So,
thinking,
Here,
so right now,
know if, like, for the lake house and people using the exercise room, how early do people
So
get in?
I can answer a lot of these questions. I've been watching it for a while. The only thing that doesn't change is the fitness center is 24/7. It's always open and they use it all.
Right.
All the time, there's people all kinds of.
which is good, love it.
Yeah.
Now, we do have people, I don't think many, one or two that have requested that the pool be open as early as 6 AM. I don't know,
Well, I don't have a problem with that either, I mean, I don't care, I understand the need to have a set time, it's open at that time.
I drew to these hours because I don't necessarily like the 6 AM because at certain points it's just too dark. I went to I forgot the name of the site, shows you sunrise and sundown of the entire year. And kind of looked at it that way and said, when are we within daylight for most 98% of the time? And that's kind of where it fits with hours. That's why I dropped the 6 to 7. But May and August, we could go as, as late as 9
Mhm.
and still have light, so anyways, that's where I came up with this. Wasn't numbers at a board, but I wasn't throwing darts at a board when I did it.
Well, I figured there was some logic to it, I just wanted to understand.
My
Well,
problem
I
is,
tell you,
Sorry.
7 o'clock, it's dark at 7 o'clock right now.
right now, yeah. And what do I have it in for?
I'm talking about the morning.
The morning,
So if we did 7 o'clock, it's gonna be dark. Now, the question is, if people wanna swim and it's dark, I'm worried about liability, if there's no lights on
There's
there.
lights, it's lit, so it's not.
It's lit, it's got, surface lights, pool lights, and overhead.
You know, I feel like, I'm an insurance guy. My father was insurance. I have insurance. But I feel like often when I bring up the issue about our liability for something happening, it seems to be sort of not paid attention to.
No, that's not true.
No,
I almost agree with you almost every time you say it, John, so.
Well, I just think
I agree.
I don't care whether we got lights down there or not, it just seems like if people are swimming in the dark, that there's more potential for light distortion, for getting confused, having things happen, and that would be our issue.
If I put it any lower than 7, we will have it. Because again, we have people that want to get in there and do get in there, are accustomed to getting in there at 6 a.m. That's just,
I've just been voicing.
So you're talking about
voicing
7
that we
a.m.
have to be-
Well, at different times of the, those 2 month periods, it might be dark for the end of the later part of the
we
period.
could change that.
I don't know,
I think
yeah.
I chose 7 across the board because it's.
So do you want to revise it? I mean, it's a suggestion, revise it for daylight savings time, times and non-daylight savings time times.
Sure, and that's the other thing, EST, is this even a thing anymore starting next year?
I don't know, is it?
I don't think it's passed yet.
I thought it did, no?
No,
No,
I don't think it's passed.
So sure,
Your wishes.
you're right. Yeah, we could make it 8 a.m. or 7:30. Even.
So if we have no problems with people going over there, we're gonna let the lights that are there make do, and we don't have any problems with them swimming in the dark. Why aren't they like the fitness center?
I'll be honest with you, I was just gonna say, it. I live like 2 blocks, now you live right there too. My problem is, as bars are, same problem, bars don't have problems in the morning, problem in the evening, pools the exact same thing. I don't have, the early swimmers that are getting there early, they're actually getting used to lap pool.
Right.
They're today, 8 o'clock, it's not a lap pool anymore, there's only kids in there.
Oh.
So that's why we get the morning workout.
Okay,
people
that's-
that are there using the laps. The problem is the night.
Yeah.
Teenagers are getting there,
And we're having problems with people just hopping in,
every night.
I've heard.
Every night I lock it up and check it out. I pick up.
You didn't see all the kids swimming in
Could I answer
the
your
pool during
question?
the storm?
During the storm.
So my wife and I drove to the neighborhood and we are just looking, we like to go out, we're gonna go try to find coffee, of course, we know everything's closed. So my wife goes, drive by the pool, drive by the pool. There's probably 15 kids, little kids, the same, hopping over the fence.
sure.
That's no
They're
problem.
all jumping in the pool and it's the middle of a storm, there's a hurricane.
It's not that it's not,
No.
I did hear about it, yeah, it's not that
And
it's
they're
not.
all
locked
jumping
down.
in the pool, I'm thinking,
So the daylight saving times goes away next year.
It does go.
It did pass on March 15th.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
That does not.
Oh.
Anyway, it's in
Yeah,
the-
but I think that only applies to north of.
Like to see it there.
Not sure I'm gonna like that.
I don't know if that.
Might be I-20, I'm not sure, but. Well, I mean, other people have a stronger feel for this. I absolutely concur in the evening. If you had a 24/7, John, it would be a zoo over there. And I just, the deterrence of even having a locked gate goes away if you do that.
And to.
Well, why don't we set a closed date instead of an open date? We're open from 7 to 7, why don't we say that we're closed from 7 to 7? Because then we can adjust the nighttime part that's creating a problem.
Because what I was gonna say.
Oh, I like that.
It's not bad,
Yeah.
but there's an easier way to accomplish the exact same. My goal is to change small areas in the rules and rates for all amenity facilities to wherever it mentions times, points to the amenity hours policy. which we can change at will. Because, let's face it, we're gonna have to do this. Oh, sorry. We're gonna have to. I don't know if these hours are even right.
You know, I've never, I
We
lived
could
here
change
4.5
it,
years.
so we'll
I've
just
never-
do it at will.
I do-
That makes it easier for us. My goal is to
Use the
also make
restroom
the
one time,
signs.
Jim.
so we can adjust all that.
I've only been this, like,
Yeah,
only for meetings and come.
Well,
I've used none of the amenities.
So I you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The idea is that this.
So my money's gone for 4.5 years. I don't even use that. any.
But
Giving some consideration
I don't like
to other
seeing public
pools in the community. How,
Thank
how do they handle their times? Because
I like my plan.
Because if we do something that's different, we may have other people that'll do what everybody else is doing. Especially kids. So if we set our hours to match some of the other pools in the pool communities in the area. Then we're being consistent with what everybody else is doing and nobody can blame them.
it's a really good point. But I don't know, but we can easily find that out, I think. But I like your idea, but I think maybe you're right. Maybe it's 6 o'clock is a good time to open it. It's dark, but the only people going there are, fitness people who want to go. And I have seen, I used to get up early in the morning and I would see them swimming as I drove by to go to my 5 o'clock meeting.
My house, my lanai is over watercolors and I'm facing the lake over there. Every morning I get up, my wife and I get up and this time of year it's dark when we get up. I was sitting in my chair and I look up and there's this bike going by. The guy has a red light on his top. He had blue or green lights around. I was reminded of, there was a weird movie. You all remember it?
I think so.
About a guy, he was the connector throughout the movie. And he had a blue light on the top and he had a red light on his head. And he just silently went through the crowd. And I sat there and I looked at this guy. I said, we have our own character here. This is our television
The
character.
movie's going by.
I
Well-
just know at the pool, there are a lot of people that try to get in the workouts before they
Go to
Go to work.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Well, then make it 5.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Again, we could say, hey, this is the starting point and adjust as necessary. That's the idea, is that, again, I need to get this, I need to get quotes and figure out how to get the signs done so we can change the time on the signs property, and we need to adjust the rules and rates for all amenities. To point to this policy, we could change this policy's time on it.
And change the sign.
I won't have to, they're gonna be interchangeable. I mean it, that's the point.
My neon scroll light.
Yeah, you're-
No,
Right.
one of the other things we could do is just have one time frame. 6 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, period, all year long, no matter whether it's sunlight or not.
That would be my preference. What I'm saying is, I don't have background knowledge that that's going to work. Right?
But your sign's gonna be able to change,
Sure.
and we can change the rule.
We could change it.
So why don't we start with that and see what happens?
So which time are you talking about? So I agree with the early morning for the swimmers. And what's the end time? Until 9, you think?
9. Our pool is, our whole facility shuts down at 10 o'clock. And I think the pool closes at 8 o'clock. But it opens pretty early.
That's actually going to, isn't it? I mean.
I wish Johanna was here. She has small children, so I don't know.
I got an idea.
What people
Sounds like
get
we're all
small
kind of
kids.
in favor to do something. And I started this early because I know we have time on it. Let me push this to November. I'll come back to you with hours after I see what kind of hours Encore Pool's doing. There's another couple communities. I'll look at the main aqua center over at.
Yeah, I think we look at the other parts of.
Yeah, let's see what fish on.
And then I'll. report back.
8 o'clock, center opens at 5.
5 a.m.
When is it closed, you know,
Right now.
right now?
So it just fluctuates.
Yeah, so instead of saying dawn, we'll just say dusk.
About a month ago.
It doesn't have that.
I'm with you, John, I'm with you.
My lights come on 30 minutes before those
Table for November.
Yeah, let's take it. That's good.
Let's table.
I'll do a little bit more research on it.
8:30 o'clock. But I'm all,
Yeah.
I haven't, my pool's open 24/7. Anybody wants to come,
Yeah, but you were back.
just don't make any noise. No, we're bat free again.
Okay.
All right, last one, 2023 office holiday schedule.
Approved.
Why,
I
why
mean, motion that we.
worrying about Sundays?
What?
I'm not worried about them. I have them in there as placeholders because every year you have to go back and revise this with the correct dates.
So we're gonna close it on New Year's, Christmas Eve and.
We're not worried about the Sunday. We're worried about the fact that it actually is a Christmas day.
Well, I mean,
not have to
this,
do
this is 2023 holiday schedule, and we're talking about Sunday. And the office isn't open on Sunday
I know
anyway.
you're listening to what I'm saying. I pulled this from an actively working thing. This is how we do it every year, right? So the person that's not me next year can look at this list and goes, these are the sanctioned holidays the office got off last year. Let me plug in the correct date.
It's
present it to the board.
It's not not the calendar date, it's the
It's the
holiday,
Holiday.
the holiday. So we're gonna give these people these holidays.
So
So
what is the
course, we
proposal
should
if
just go
the
to-
holiday
yeah.
falls on a Sunday, we give them the Monday?
We could, okay, so my one company does exactly that. That's a question. Do you want to do that?
Of course.
I think, yeah, because they would have a day off normally, we're giving them a holiday day off.
Then that's all you have to do is we have to change our Sundays to that Monday day. Also is.
Yeah, you can just put a little blurb down here and just say when the holiday falls on a Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, they get Friday.
Without the blurb, you just say the date in observance of the holiday. That's just how it's done. And, you know,
That's what we do.
And my-
Are we allowed to use this?
Days.
Holiday.
Saturday we get Friday.
Expensive, right?
On a
So-
Sunday, we get the Monday.
it's not-
I'm not offended. I'm not offended.
No, I wanted, I.
Or do we just wanna give
About
them
the
1,
schedule
2,
is
3,
the
4,
having
5,
the
6, 7, 8,
Thanksgiving and the
10,
day
10
after
PTO days.
Thanksgiving, because you are now closing the office for 2 consecutive days.
5 days PTO.
Okay, I'm gonna work for you guys.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm for us.
You work for.
Well, age-
No one's even in this neighborhood. Like gone.
If we were.
Here,
You're gonna be
All right.
shopping too.
Yeah, would you cross it?
oh, I do.
I love, yeah, it's fine.
Online.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know, you go-
I'm making a motion to approve this. I'm gonna make the Sunday
Second.
corrections to
Sounds great.
all those in favor. Aye. Any opposed?
I think Mark said no.
Motion carries.
Disconnect.
I have to go through the top motions anyways. Anyone have anything to say from the residents? Open comment.
Oh, that's neat.
Now, there's 50 people on Zoom.
You got our email, just email us.
Yeah. Would you like to discuss the pool opening further?
Just have your people call our people. That's fine.
Okay, people.
WhatsApp, just WhatsApp us. WhatsApp us.
Okay.
Okay, motion for adjournment.
Second.
Third, fourth.
Fourth, fifth, all those in favor?
I.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, this, you don't show.
Gonna push the button.